3 o'clock on this Tuesday afternoon, or should I say this Bruise Day afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell, who's back. We have
Howdy.
We have a status report to get to on Elijah's day off.
It was fun.
That's not what I'm here for. Well,
You're here for debauchery.
Well, I'm here to find out how much debauchery there was.
If I got kicked out of any establishments?
I'm not really looking for you to get kicked out. I don't want you to cause trouble. We're just seeing exactly how far you went. But it is Bruise Day. It'll be our final Bruise Day of, Wait, which one are you? You're on this guy. Here. Well, pull that guy over to you. No, the one on your left. Yeah, there you go. Pull that guy over. Now do it again.
Now let's try it.
How you doing?
The first time I've been in here.
No, I know. Right.
Yeah, first timer.
I screwed up real bad yesterday, man.
Oh, what'd you do?
So I had invited our good friend Derek Scott, the voice of the Gamecocks, to be on with us yesterday at 4:15. And Derek very politely texted me back right when I asked him and said, I can't do 4:15. I've got a meeting that starts at 4. I'll be done right after 4:30. I said, that's great. And then I told the audience that Derek could be with us at 4:15 because I had simply forgotten that he told me he couldn't do 4:15. So in my head,
Rookie mistake.
So Terry calls and he's like, yeah, I got no answer. And I was like, huh. So I was getting ready to text Derek, and then I look at the text conversation from the previous day and realize, hey, Jay, you moron, he told you he couldn't do 4:15. So, So there was my first screw up of the year.
That was my first one, too. Just getting on the wrong mic.
Hey, see, that at least wasn't, like, the repercussions of that weren't too bad. The worst, ass chewing I ever got in this industry was calling Doc Emmerich, former legendary NBC Sports
the
hockey
best.
broadcaster.
The best.
So apparently he was scheduled to come on our show. Our program director landed us this interview. And the day before, he changed. He's like, hey, can I do, the last hour of your show instead of the second? I've got a lunch reservations at this place. They agreed to move it, but no one told me. So guess who's calling Doc Emmerich and blowing his phone up in the middle of this lunch reservation? Guess who answers the phone and answers why the hell are you blowing my phone up right now? I've blocked off my calendar, all this type of stuff, and no one told me that was the case.
That's not your mistake, then.
That's not cool.
Yeah. But that's not your mistake.
Did somebody somebody at least apologize to you?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He did actually profusely for how he spoke on the phone, but he was not happy.
Oh, I can believe that.
Not happy with me.
But somebody at your office should have told you, the moose out front should have told you.
That was like me last week when I was yelling at Jay for bumping me to a Monday.
Oh, that wasn't my fault. Again, you can take that up with the outgoing athletics director.
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
we had words just
All right, good.
Did you arm wrestle him?
Yeah.
Good. That's good. How you doing?
Take my day away. I'm awesome, man.
Well, I didn't.
It's good. It's everything's it's fine.
I can't see this. Hold on.
Yeah, I messed this all up. It's my fault. It's my fault.
How did you?
I always get on mic 3 and I jumped on mic 2 and then I have it in the way.
You turned to mic 3.
To be fair, mic 2 had been swung in a position to where it seemed to be in mic 3's place.
It is, and it's always like that. Every time I come in, I usually move it around, have to lower the chair.
But I promise we know what we're
Gunner
doing.
being in it.
We've done it once or twice.
Yeah, on live radio. I promise we know what we're doing. But I haven't worked with Elijah in nearly a week. I haven't seen you in over a week.
Over a week.
A week. Usually it's just 1 week, and it's very regimented.
I know. I missed you guys.
I have, for the first time ever, proof is right here in the sound, filled out a college football playoff bracket. Didn't take as long because there's only 12 schools. But you have both now. Well, have you seen it, Elijah? Ryan has. I don't know if you saw mine. I put it out on Twitter as well.
I saw your tweet. Yeah, of the picture of the bracket. I need to print mine out and fill it out like I do March Madness. I did mine on the Capital One Bowl Mania thing on ESPN.
I glanced at it, but I didn't want to see his picks, so I wasn't swayed. I don't want to be persuaded one way or the other.
Well, I don't know if this is going to persuade.
Jay put that there. I'm not going to put that team there.
But
it has to be Ryan Brewer's true thoughts and picks.
I don't want to see what everyone.
See, Terry already asked me the question that I knew I was going to get, and he did it within seconds. I have picked the University of Georgia Bulldogs to win the 12-school college football playoff. Oh, without Beck? And I was like, and then Ryan, at least, thank God, Ryan was here to help me out. I was like, now they can run the ball.
What would he have done if I wasn't here?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I'd have said the same thing. I'd have said, I mean, because my first response to Ford was, did you see the second half of the title game?
And look, I think Beck's a heck of a quarterback. Well, let me take that back. I think Beck's a decent quarterback. When he went out, I think Bobo had a chance to let's just let the big dogs eat and let the running backs go, and that looked like a heck of a healthier team.
It forced Mike to call more run plays, and Texas seemingly was not prepared for the fact that Georgia might run the football. And again, in the first half, Texas defense, which is excellent, held Georgia to -2 rush yards.
Well, they ran the ball with Stockton a lot too. I don't think Texas was prepared at all to face a running quarterback.
Yeah,
and Stockton okay after he got knocked out cold?
He's fine.
I wonder if he's back on the same planet as the rest of us because he wasn't after
He's
that
fine.
hit.
He don't know who he is, but he's fine.
Yeah,
I don't share your same enthusiasm.
no, that's
When he's my age, he'll realize that he's not fine. But
You're not okay.
I don't know how much enthusiasm I have for any of the no school on this list stands out.
No.
I mean, I really.
SMU does. Should be in there. So, but they stayed out.
You know, like SMU and Boise, I just don't think can win this thing. I think every other school in it can win this thing. I have picked Tennessee to beat Ohio State. So there's my upset, I guess, at least in that round. I got Texas moving on over Clemson. I just think the Texas defense is too good for Clemson.
It's gnarly. Yeah, it's really good.
Penn State, I think, will beat SMU. And I've got Notre Dame beating Indiana. But then I've got Boise winning over Penn State. But that game's going to be out in the desert. So there's no weather things there. I mean, Boise would love to have Penn State on the blue field as the higher seed.
I mean, Boise State's never done anything.
You'll probably get a Boise SMU game.
That'd be great, man. I mean, seriously, that'd be great. That one of
Penn
those.
State's going to win on the big stage.
They don't do it often.
They don't, man.
That's not their thing.
They don't. But then I've got Georgia beating Oregon for the national championship in Atlanta. But I like Georgia's defense. Again, if this is a bad Georgia team, and by the accounts of those who pull for Georgia, it is, which is the funny thing to me, then give me the SEC champion and the number 2 team in the country, right? So beating number 1. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm not. If you ask me, like, Jay, how on a percentage scale, how great do you feel about your picks? Yeah, I don't know, 55%.
I'd say 45 for you.
Thanks, Ryan.
But you said it. You said it there. None of those teams just go, bam, they're going to win it all.
No.
And I think that's the biggest argument. Like South Carolina fans, at least myself, has it. There's no one on this list that scares South Carolina.
No. And I think Carolina could play with any of these teams. Now, they wouldn't be favored against a bunch of them, but, I mean, I don't think – you look at some of the spreads in the first round.
I mean, Oregon should from what they've done this, but you don't – if they're battle-tested, that's the biggest thing.
Again, I like Texas. Texas plays great defense. No one has stopped Ashton Jeanty yet. Penn State is just – they're really physical up front, but they don't – I mean, that's the thing with Penn State. They need the skill guys. If they had some guys, like out wide, especially, that could maybe stretch defenses a little bit more and open some things up, they'd be better. Maybe they'll start to do that kind of thing. Notre Dame is, I think, better than people give them credit for. I just think that one loss continues to haunt Notre Dame, even though it really shouldn't. But anyway, we'll see. Again, I'm not.
I think you made me change my mind. I'm picking Boise to win it all.
I would love that, man.
That would be. That's actually from now. That's what I'm cheering for. I'm putting it out now. I am cheering for Jeanty to go out there and prove everybody why he should have been in the Heisman pose.
Yeah.
I want him to pass Barry Sanders for that record in the first half of that Fiesta Bowl game.
Last time Ryan was with us, he talked about a high school playoff game he was involved in Ohio, where it was like -300 or something, like where they, like the same temperature they froze Han Solo with, and he couldn't feel the ball.
And Han Solo came back.
He did. He was fine. He was in perfect hibernation, according to Lando Calrissian. But it's only going to be like 20 degrees or something in Columbus this weekend. That's not bad.
I was in St. Louis this weekend.
Yeah,
watching my girls play soccer, and it was 20 degrees for our 8 a.m. game.
That sounds horrible.
It was horrible. I mean, I think a couple girls in this huge tournament, whole showcase. A couple girls hypothermia.
Oh, well, that's
my oldest was having her hands were cracking, like she was
that's not
close to getting frostbite.
That's not good.
And then the last day, 8 a.m. game, it's 34, right above freezing, 34,
Balmy.
36, raining.
Oh no.
Ooh, even worse.
Raining. They played the 8 a.m. game and then canceled the rest of the showcase.
No, so you went all the way and then
For two games. For my youngest played 2. My oldest got her 3rd game in, except they canceled with like 10 minutes or so left because the other team they were playing was from Jersey, but they had girls going down, getting hurt, and they run out of players.
There's a dome in that city. Why couldn't y'all just play in there, man?
Because this is like every team you can think of in the whole United States was here, went to St. Louis, Missouri in December to play soccer.
And of course, Jay, the St. Louis Rams play in that dome. But
Nope.
Dang.
Nope.
No, they don't.
Nope. That's why I said it's empty. It's just sitting there.
Man,
But that could house 2 teams for a couple hours a day.
Well, I'm sorry it got canceled. Did y'all drive?
We flew, but some
Okay,
people
well,
did
that's
drive. It was it was tough. We were laughing as we played a Vegas team. We played there's teams from California, there's teams from Texas, there's everywhere, and they're like, this is miserable.
Yeah, if you're going to schedule something in December like that, I would do it in like Dallas or Atlanta, right?
Well, they had it in Nashville before, and they've had it in Phoenix. So they should have had it in Phoenix.
Phoenix would make
sense. This time of year, and had in the spring have it in St. Louis. But
if everybody's flying anyway,
there, but it's we've been all over this country, and this was probably one of the worst. We've had some with snow, but it still was not this cold.
Snow can be fun. Rain and in the 30s.
Snow. That's my opinion. If it's going to be cold and wet, go ahead and snow.
Yeah, that's the worst weather.
It looks cool.
Rain in the like mid 30s, which happens here, unfortunately, a lot.
But to your point, yes, it can be miserable to play in a 20-degree weather, but not when you're full pad normally, and not when you're in a confined situation where the wind's really not that big of a factor.
Are Big Ten fans just applying some form of like
hopium?
Yeah, like wishful thinking to this.
Hopium. That's I'm writing that one down. They are, because I mean it's snowing in Tennessee. It's cold all and there's not times there's certain degrees where everyone's affected. Like I told you, my high school story.
Yeah,
like it doesn't matter.
It's cold for both.
It's cold
teams.
for both teams.
Yeah.
It's now I've lived here long enough. My blood has thinned out. I don't get nearly as cold as most South Carolinians. I don't. But it has thinned out. Like that was miserable in St. Louis this weekend for me as well. I stood out there as long as I could, and I did. With the girls were out there, I was out there.
Yeah.
Now I was in 12 layers.
Sure.
I looked like what the
Looked
kid
like the Michelin man over there, all bundled up.
Christmas Story. The kid waddled out.
I can't put my arms down.
That's what I looked like. But,
put your arms down when you get to school.
But I wanted to be out there because they were going through the weather, but they're playing run around. So I figured I could layer up. But it's for the fans, it's going to be more miserable than the players. When you're out there, 20 degrees, that's cold.
Yeah.
Warming up. Once the ball snapped, once you're actually in the game, if you're not playing the game, that's when it's not fun.
Well, now on the sidelines, they'll have those giant heaters and the heated benches
blowing on them.
Yeah, and they got the big jacket. Yeah, you're right about South Carolinians. I was at one of my daughters lives over in Shandon, and we were over there the other day, and it was like about what it is outside right now. Like I don't know, maybe a little colder. Like what do I got? It's almost
75.
Right, it was like 60. It was like 60 something.
It's 96 in this studio right now.
It's hot in here. Yeah, it is very hot in this room. But this lady was in like a full-on like Patagonia, one of those big padded ones, and I was like, "Ma'am, it's only in the 60s." I didn't say it to her, but
in your head, you're like, "It's not."
But I was like, "It ain't that cold." I get it's chilly. So I'm with you, but we'll see. All right, so I've made my picks. We have a picks contest later. By the way, it's not a beer card up for grabs today. It is tickets to the men's basketball conference opener against Alabama.
Ooh, that is exciting.
So that will be today's prize.
That's a big game.
So tell the kids to be ready for that one. That'll come up around 5:30 today. And according to the one and only Josh Yellman, parking will be included.
Oh, look at us.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, I just want the parking spot.
That's right. Lots more to do on a Brews Day edition of the show, the final one of 2024. 803-404-6100. Get some thoughts from Ryan on the Gamecock Bowl game when we return.
We have some awesome professional football games being played on Christmas Day this year, like we have the last few years, and you can enjoy that in a way that you never have before with my friends over at Prize Picks. Look, if you're listening to this radio station right now, you probably know ball, and you should be able to cash in on that ball knowing knowledge. And with Prize Picks this month in December, they're celebrating Pickmas by upping the ante on how much you can win with Prize Picks. I've been telling you all season long that on Prize Picks, you just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Well, in the month of December here for their Pickmas promotion, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. And they offer a bunch of different stuff for this month. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks this month, and they're giving away $30 million in rewards during Pickmas. Download the app today. Use promo code 1075GAME. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Twenty minutes after 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, a Brews Day edition of the program. As Ryan Brewer is in the house, Jay and Elijah with you. Our buddy Ben Portnoy, the Sports Business Journal, coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. He'll also be in studio. We'll put him right where Ryan is right now. What a great seat.
Warming the seat up.
Yeah. And then Langston Moore will make an appearance on today's program. He'll be with us for the first half of the 5. And then right after that, again, a special playoff edition / bowl edition of the Wild Card Showdown. We do have the 4 playoff games. And then the wild card games will be the Pop-Tarts Bowl, the Alamo Bowl, the ReliaQuest Bowl, and the Music City Bowl. And then once it's time and we get back in a couple of weeks, I say we get back, but when it's time for the next round of New Year's playoff games and such, we'll have another one for you. We'll be back. We'll do that on the 30th because I think these games help me out a lot.
All those are pre-New Year's Eve.
Yeah, pre-New Year's Eve. That was my goal. I hope I didn't screw that up.
I thought ReliaQuest Bowl was on New Year's Eve.
You might be right.
I may be crazy.
No, I think you're right. Actually, you are. I might need to change that one, huh?
We have time.
We'll figure something out. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. The committee will be working hard over the holidays. Don't you fret.
We're working long hours.
That's right. Yeah, committee's really dedicated to
the committee is going to figure this out over a buffet.
Let's talk a little Carolina, Illinois. Gamecocks still heavily favored in this one, 9.5. We were just talking about this off air, so let's do it real quick, and then we'll let Ryan comment. This is cut number 2 on today's list. Demetrius Knight appearing on the SEC This Morning show with what he wants to see from Carolina.
Of course, there's disappointment, but there's more of we have more to prove and more of we're not finished, and this is not going to kind of put us down into the next season, but this is going to skyrocket us into the next season, especially with expectations. So in our minds and in the entire locker room, we had the slight feeling they were going to, have us on the outside looking in. So we're close enough just that we could smell it, we could taste it, and that just let us know that we're not far off at all. So that does nothing but build our confidence, and it didn't matter who we were going to play next. I apologize that it's Illinois. It's not their fault, but we're a team that's feel a little foot in the mouth right now. So we'll probably be playing with a little bit of attitude come that game on 31st.
I like that, dude.
React.
At first, the foot in mouth, I thought he was saying he's putting, but I'm putting my foot in their mouth type deal. This is, I think, great news, or at least the feeling that, you got one of your top, if one of my favorite defensive players is saying he'd come back, he's got something to prove in this game. And he's definitely showed some brilliance throughout the season, but he's a couple sacks away from just being another stud on this defense. But if he's coming back and the whole defense has this mindset, that would be awesome. I mean, right now we're sitting there, we're talking off airs. Right now we don't know anybody that's saying, hey, we're not playing. Now I think there's some guys that it may benefit them not to, but as this is actually trending back into a way where team football, it's not about me so much. And you have to look out for me. You have to do that, especially if you're a high first round, second round guy. Other than that, it's team football. And I think this is awesome and showing the brotherhood, the chemistry, and what Coach Beamer and that defensive staff's building and bringing these guys and saying, hey, we're not done.
It does feel this year. I know there have been a few, but I'm maybe I just haven't seen it. I don't know, but it doesn't feel like there's as many opt-outs across the country so far this year. A handful, but it was more the norm for a lot of games the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, it certainly has kind of felt like we're getting some roster retention for these bowl games. And I think it really just depends on who you are, right? I feel like last year there was a lot of guys going into the transfer portal, so they're not playing, like Marshall, for instance. Like the reason Marshall can't play their bowl game against Army is because they have 25 players in the transfer portal and they don't feel like they could field a team, right? And they're going to have to completely overhaul
it's not safe.
for next year.
Did you see the American commissioner just rip Marshall, by the way?
I did not see that.
He ripped him. He was like, if you knew that you were on, they did. Marshall's administration knew what was coming down.
Well, because they knew they weren't going to be retaining their head coach.
And when that happens, the kids are going to leave. And he was like, why would you accept the bowl bid knowing full well that you weren't going to retain your coach and that a good portion of your roster was going to leave?
That's a fair point.
Yeah, and
is it too late now? I mean, that game was.
They got Louisiana Tech.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yeah, they got Louisiana Tech
to come in and fill that spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the hometown team was like, "Hey, we're here. We'll do it."
Yeah. We weren't terrible. I mean, I think they're 5-7.
They're 5-7.
They're 5-7. Yeah. Like, we weren't absolutely terrible.
So I just make sure Army didn't lose the game.
No. Well, I think I told Terry yesterday, or was it you? I can't remember now. I think it was you and I talking about last week. I was like, "This is not a good game." I mean, Army deserves a better game.
Yeah, and unfortunately for like the AAC, even your winner doesn't get a great bowl game. I mean, that was a bowl game of 2 conference winners, mind you.
Yeah,
because Marshall won the Sun Belt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Hey, what's the reward for winning the American in the Sun Belt? We'll see you in Shreveport.
So the guy's not opting out this year. NIL probably has a little bit to do with it, but I think the playoffs has
the playoffs. Yeah, I was going to say, I think
you don't hear the big names because they all have to play in this game.
Yeah,
they don't have to, but.
Well, none
if they want to win a championship, they got to play in this. They got to play in these games. So I mean, that's the big.
Ashton Jeanty,
and usually
opting out of a bowl, out of a playoff game. Yeah.
Oh man, if he does that, I can't pick boys to win it all. Right. I mean, but that's
Quinn Ewers announces.
That's how it always spiraled down. It was always the big guys, the names there. They start, then all of a sudden it's like, well, I might as well too. And all of a sudden you're getting the 6th, 7th round guys, or no, I'm just a senior. I'm opting out too. I'm gonna start working out for the NFL draft. And it's like, just play, man.
Well, I think you hit it.
You only get so many of these games.
Right.
You're not even guaranteed. Even if you're a 1st round guy, you're not guaranteed to play in the NFL.
No.
You could get hurt tomorrow just walking down the sidewalk. Play in every game. Enjoy every moment you can, because sometimes you're gonna be sitting here talking about it and not be able to do it again.
Yeah, I think having 12 schools in this thing, obviously, because there's the bulk of your 1st rounders, right, and 2nd rounders and guys like that.
I feel like the bigger issue now isn't guys opting out for the draft. It's like your 2nd string players or your fringe players who get on the field, occasionally for teams that are in the playoff, opting out to get in the transfer portal because they want to be able to play somewhere next year, like the Penn State guy, right? Like that's, I feel like, probably the biggest example we have of this. Malik Murphy last year for Texas.
Coming back.
Yeah, Drew Aller's coming back. Yeah, exactly. So he's either having to skip the transfer portal and be the backup for the playoff run and miss out on the window, or if he does go in the portal afterwards, he only has like 3 days, like a 3-day extension.
Yeah,
that's got to be such a hard conversation with the coach and say, look, I want to play. He's coming back. I know I can't start over him. I may be your backup, but I want to go play somewhere, even if it's if he's being honest, he wants to go play maybe a lower whatever, or he might be just another team. But that window, if more and more of those happen, even if just this one happens, that window's going to change.
They're
going to have to figure out, hey, we got to widen this window up because these guys that are playing for these big time teams that.
Because look, it happened to Malik Murphy last year at Texas. He was the Texas backup quarterback, and Ewers was out for like 3 games, and Murphy came in. They won all the games that he played in. They get to the college football playoff, and he has to either choose transfer portal, and even then, he didn't have a lot of time to actually get to choose where he went. Had to rush the process. Went to Duke, and is now in the transfer portal again, probably because he didn't have a wide variety of teams he could have gone to when he did opt to go into the portal. So it's one of those things like this. The timing is so bad for a lot of these schools that are in the playoff.
A lot of coaches and, again, conference commissioners even complaining about this. I have a solution.
Ooh, I like solutions.
All right. I'm going to, and I think what I have, I'm not being a smart ass here. I think what I have could work. I don't think college coaches would want it, but I'll solve everybody's problem as best I can. I'll tell you about it on the other side.
Wait.
Tell you what's going on with our friends at Katos Power Equipment. Now is a great time to get in. Year-end specials, kind of holdovers from the Black Friday sales that were going on at Katos. A lot of great tools in there, especially for those of you with the gift ideas, at least, that are more of the home landscaper like yours truly. I've been telling you a lot about these brand new Toro battery-powered tools, all right? Blowers, edgers, trimmers, mowers, saws, chainsaws, pole saws, all this in stock. They all use the same battery, tons of battery power, right? Very efficient. Matt and Ben swear by these things, talk about how great they are in terms of not having to get fixed a lot and they're just as strong and reliable as a lot of the stuff that's been gas-powered for decade upon decade. Check them out. Whether you do it for yourself, you do it for a living, great things in there for you. Katos Power Equipment, 4012 West Beltline Boulevard. Talking Carolina football, playoff football, brackets. Yeah, you can make a bracket. I mean, I think there's bracket challenges on the 4-Letter Network website and such. Are we doing anything around here? I mean, I got one if we do. I just
like a bracket challenge.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know they don't
staff pride kind of a thing. Not
we can. I'm for it.
I don't care.
I do bowl pools every year, pick 'em pools every year.
There'll definitely be some perfect brackets on this one.
Yeah, yes. This one. This not this. Yeah, this should not be.
There will not be too many.
This one can be perfect.
Yeah, this should not
too
be
many options.
I don't know that mine's going to be perfect.
It will not.
And again, like I said, Terry Ford already questioning me because he's convinced that the only reason George is good is Carson Beck, which I'm not.
I'm telling you, Boise is winning it all. You sold me.
By the way, yes. And I think he told you this, but I'm going to throw Elijah a really easy to hit curveball here. But I am told that we need to give away 2 pair of tickets for tonight's Carolina-Clemson men's basketball game.
Oh, boy.
We have 2 pair, callers 4 and 5, right now. 803-404-6100. 803-404-6100. 6100. If you would like to go see Carolina host number 16?
I think they're number 16. I can't remember what they were in the new AP poll. Haven't taken a look at that yet.
A ranked Clemson team. Hang on, I'll tell you right now.
They are top 20 in
This
net.
says number 25 because they lost the other night.
Yeah, but they're top 20 in net, and that's all that matters.
Okay.
It's a quad one game.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, this is a big opportunity for Carolina. And would be a good win for Clemson. So anyway, if you want to go, callers 4 and 5 right now. Good luck. Game is at 7 o'clock tonight. In the meantime, Ryan Brewer is with us here on a Brews Day edition of the program. And again, the final Brews Day of 2024. The former Gamecock running back, wide receiver, punt returner, kick returner, special teams gunner, team captain, husband, father, coach, business owner, world traveler, and so much more.
What's next week? We can't do it? You kicking me out already?
It's Christmas Eve.
Yeah, you kicking me out?
Well, if you want to come back, that's fine. I don't know that anybody's going to be here, man.
I can do it by myself.
Okay, we'll give you the key. I'll tell you what, come by
no
the
one
house.
in the building at all.
I'll give you my key card. All right, I'll give you my parking pass card. I got them both right here.
Oh,
come on in.
Such a great show if I just had the mic by myself all.
I don't know how to run most of that stuff.
Yeah,
over
I wouldn't
there.
either. It'd be.
So you just turn everything on, and pot it all up, and see what happens.
Oh, the whole building would be burned down because I'd be no dump button or anything.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be here on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why. And then the following Tuesday is Carolina's game. So
okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
and we won't have a show.
So that makes sense.
We won't have a show that day.
Because I just thought you were already kicking me out again.
No. Listen, you're always welcome as far as you know. But no, just no shows the next couple of Brews days. But we can do one right after, like the week after, if you want.
We'll
to
talk
start
about
the
it.
new year.
We'll figure it out.
That's probably up to your
Depends on how
boss.
the bowl game goes.
That's fair. That's fair. Obviously, we talked a lot about your bowl games. You mentioned earlier the team, the pride, the fight. You had a little of that in you. We've all known, we know the stories. And again, the great line from Coach Cooper, "Oh yeah, I was a walk-on too." And you're like, "Hey, bro,
Yeah,
I'm actually a full scholarship football player." So
I'll be interviewed by ESPN.
yes.
That was even those awkward parts. Like he's tapping on me. I was like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing? Who are you?"
You should have. Well, never mind. But what's something that we don't know? For all the times that we've had you on this show, you've obviously been in this business, and it's been a few years, man, since you played in those games. What's something that we don't know about somebody, somewhere, something firing you up before the game? Like a story you think you've never told that you could tell, at least that you can share. Something Lou Holtz might have said, or Skip, or somebody else on the team that said, "Hey, Brew, your time."
No, I don't know if I have stories, but there are moments in games, in locker rooms, and things, and I've said all the time that I love watching our defense play. And one of the guys that really got me going was Rashad Faison. And he'd always go to everyone before the game. He hitting on the shoulder pass, slapping the helmet, whatever. And you ready? And like there's times like even with my shoulder pads on, I'd be in the shower, like just water running on my head, just trying to really calm down. Because I get maybe going a little too much, but then I just got to start doing breathing. Every game he'd come up to me and look at me and just stare in the eyes, and not like kind of a too awkward long, like one of those moments you're like, all right, man, you can stop looking at me. And he's just then he's like, I don't got to say anything to you. You're ready. Like type deal. And like that, but that just a little bit when he'd say that, I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm ready. Like, let's say something different, but like, but I wouldn't talk much or anything. It's just, just the moments, the connection we would make, just the eye contact and knowing about to go out there and, kill somebody.
What was your reaction? I don't know if I've ever asked you this, but what was your reaction when you guys knew you were going to play them again the next year? Same bowl game, same stadium, same teams. What do you remember about that
man.
relative to the first one?
My first gut reaction was like, really? Like, as we've already done this. This story's already been told. That I have to close this book up. And so then it's like, then everyone got all pumped up. It's like, let's do it again type deal. And let's show them, because then all of a sudden they were chirping. You can hear the chirping back at us. So we didn't really take you serious type deal. And we're going to show you who's boss. And Ohio State's better than you, yada, yada. So it's like, all right, motivation's there again. Let's just prove, got to prove a point again. But that initial reaction was, it wasn't the old fire first reaction. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
This is time like you go out there and prove something. It was more of a, man, we've already done this. Like this story. It was almost too perfect of a story. Yeah. Then all of a sudden you got to put in there, is this going to, and I don't have a lot of doubt in my mind, like with most stuff, anything. But when some doubt crept in, like this could ruin what happened last year. Yeah. So, but it didn't. It's kind of,
that was a hell of a game too.
And it was one heck of a game.
Well, and they were very different, if only because Jim Tressel had taken over, right?
Yeah, different coach, different mindset. How they but we still dominate them defensively. And then, the quarterback Belisari came in and the second half and took them on a good run. Yeah. But we stopped them when we needed to and kicked a field goal to win the game. But it definitely the motivation of Ohio State for me was still there, but it was a different coach. It wasn't none of the staff. I think Romanoff with one of the assistant ADs was still there. It was like everyone was gone,
right?
That I knew,
right?
Throughout the times, and so it was the motive. But it's still, you're playing a game, you're motivated to play, but it was something a little bit more special the first one.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, and that game, was one because that was such a big deal for this school. I mean, I know for you personally, it had a whole different set of storylines that meshed in with everything else. But, South Carolina had never played in a game like that.
No, but, do it back-to-back against the Ohio State, it kind of solidified, all right, we are real. Right. We're here. Now, we didn't really back it up the next season, but, it was, is one of those just showing, I think a lot of teams and a lot of naysayers out there were saying that was a fluke year, that 2000 season. And that was something just to back it up and prove, no, we're for real. And then just kind of put a little stepping stone and get us to where we are now.
Yeah.
That's why bowl games will never truly be meaningless, at least to me, because there are certain bowl games for certain programs that can really legitimize you. And for this year, right, for Shane Beamer and this coaching staff and this group of players that are foundational players, like the quarterback you're bringing back next year, the All-American edge rusher you're bringing back next year, the all-freshman America from by on 3 left tackle you're bringing back for next year. Those are 3 foundational pieces that played big roles in what would be only the 5th 10-win season in program history. Like, that would legitimize you as a coaching staff, as a program. Like, there's still things that have that type of special meaning on the line, even in a game like this. It's not a playoff game, but it's still something that's incredibly meaningful for a school like South Carolina. It'd be the same way for Illinois, too. This would be a legitimizing win for a school like Illinois to get win number 10 in a Big Ten that's going to be a lot more competitive over the next few years now that they added the schools they did.
Yeah, I mean, and you go back in history books, you're going to show 10 wins. You didn't say how you got there, whatever. No matter what, the 10 wins a big deal. That's a huge deal. And when you're, again, going back, I think I've said it third time now, when you're my age, you can say, hey, we had 10 wins in a season. That's pretty freaking cool. Like, they don't know that now. They know it's cool, but they have no idea how cool it is later on down the road.
How much cooler it can be.
Yeah. So it's, and it's the thing too is, I look back at like games like even Boise. Boise became a team that you realize because of bowl games, because of what they did when they were running the reverse and all the Statue of Liberty and all that. And that's when I was like, who is this team?
Right.
And all of a sudden they became every year they're in the hunt. They're battling for this.
It became legitimate.
Yeah, because of bowl games. And it's, you make a stand, you make a statement, everyone's watching, that guys are watching that would normally not watch you play.
Right.
And that's not just fans, that's college kids, that's high school kids,
yeah.
that's preschoolers that are saying, oh man, I got a kid in my hometown that was wearing Oregon stuff because when he was in preschool or kindergarten, because they thought the colors were cool and he saw him on a bowl game and watched it. All of a sudden he grew up this huge Oregon fan. And it's like, you never know. And he's a heck of an athlete. He wants to go play there, I think, based on another sport, but he wants to go play there something else because of what they did in a bowl game back then. And it's just little stuff like that goes around the nation that you can make a big, impact. Clowney hit, things like that.
Yeah.
Things that make that puts South Carolina even further on the map. Just the one play here and there.
There's a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, South Carolina, the guy that blew that dude's helmet off.
To this day.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots more to do with Ryan. You're listening to a special Brews Day edition of the Postgame Show. Sorry, excuse me. We're talking a little fun off-air conversation there. As I tell you about our good friends at the Joint Chiropractic Centers, their goal, simple, improve the overall health of patients with affordable, convenient chiropractic care, help you maintain and prevent reoccurring problems. And listen, you can be in and out quickly. You don't have to worry about insurance. You don't have to make an appointment. They're FSA and HSA approved, which is a big deal. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, Saturdays, 10 until 4. Janet and Bob Keene, great people. They've lived in Columbia a long time. They want you to feel better. It's that simple. If you've never been to a chiropractic center before, for just $29, your initial visit includes a consultation, an exam, and an adjustment. And once again, no appointments necessary. Harbison, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch, Sunset. You don't have to feel bad to feel better at the Joint. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of our first hour, our Brews Day edition of the program. Ryan Brewer in the house. And when Ryan Brewer is in the house, Ryan Brewer's visit is brought to you conveniently by none other than Ryan Brewer and Ryan Brewer Fence.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, isn't it? They let me come in here and talk some football for an hour.
It's very nice of your staff.
People at Ryan Brewer Fence can put up a fence throughout the state for you, residential, commercial. We can do it all: ornamental fence, wood fence, anything vinyl, any custom stuff. We have a big fab shop that your heart desires. We can make it up for you. And then just go to ryanbrewer.net or call us 803-647-1591, and we'll take care of you.
A buddy of mine's a contractor, and saw him the other day, and he said, "Man, your new fence." And he was.
That's a good compliment too.
He was impressed.
You get another contractor saying it looks good.
Yeah.
But, that's when we got a great team out there putting up fence all day, every day.
Mrs. Phillips is still very happy. She will be for many years to come, though.
Good.
So, because it's a good-looking fence, man.
I appreciate it.
And I hadn't talked to my next-door neighbor in a couple of weeks. We keep missing each other, and he was raving. So, once again, thanks.
Build good neighbors, man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he likes it. All right. Speaking of good neighbor, well, he's not really a neighbor or anything, but he's like a good friend of ours. It's our very good friend Patrick Davis on the line, and he will be doing his annual Toys for Tots concert coming up on Friday night. And always a pleasure,
Hey,
PD.
guys.
Merry Christmas. How are you?
I was just listening to this fence talk. I was just enjoying.
You need a fence?
Enjoying listening. Well, no, Ryan actually put one up at the old Brewer fencing team put one up at my parents' house in Camden. Beautiful.
Look at that.
Probably like a decade ago. It still looks amazing. It was a long time ago. Probably need some more fence out there, But we're doing good. I'm over in Camden. I'm home for the holidays, so I'm happy to be here and happy to be talking to you guys. And Friday night, at the Senate. So looking forward to that one. And Ryan, I owe you an apology, bro. You were supposed to get on stage.
All right, I'm still singing "Rock Me, Mama" like a wagon wheel every day, all day in my sleep. I was supposed to be up there just ruining it all for you and Darius and Coach Beamer and Sean. So.
Well, man, it was Jay. I don't know if you heard this story yet, but the listeners out there just know that if you see Ryan, you need to hug him and just if you see him in a karaoke bar, make sure that you sing Wagon Wheel with him, because at the NIL Gamecock Club show we did a couple weeks ago for with Darius and myself, it was a lot of fun. And at the end of the night, I was grabbing Shane and Sean Elliott to get up and sing, and I saw Ryan in the hallway, and I said, "Ryan, you're gonna come sing with us." And then I got pulled away, and I got on the stage, and I completely spaced, and then I got off the stage, and all I saw on my phone was a text message that said, "I'm waiting on you in the hallway."
And the thing is, I was actually staring at you from the stage.
Is that exactly what it said? Was there? Did you leave anything out?
There were some words that
Were there any
would not
emojis?
be appropriate for the Brewer fencing HR department would not like some of the things.
Oh, he's fine with it. He put his own hat
I
on.
felt so bad, though. I was sitting there. I was like, "Oh my God, I forgot about Ryan." It was a heartbreaking moment.
You know what? It didn't matter to me, besides that our Uber already left. But then it ended up being a great night, because we caught Uber with some friends, and we were out till late in the night.
That's good. That's good. All right, so this is getting to be like double digits for the Toys for Tots show, right?
It is. Usually, it's right after Thanksgiving. This year, because of because of that show for the Gamecock Club we did a couple weeks ago, I had to move it just so they weren't back to back. But this year, it's really close to Christmas, which is a lot of fun. We've never done this before, and so if anybody out there is looking for an excuse to get away from the family, or maybe bring the family, whatever you want to do, on Friday night, it should be a lot of fun at the Senate. This year is also special because the Toys for Tots folks were okay with us kind of bringing in some to help some other local charities. So we are actually donating the toys and the items brought this year to Homeless No More, which is a wonderful organization in South Carolina and in Columbia. So, we're hoping just to make some kids a little happier on Christmas morning. So if any of you guys do make it out, please bring some toys. It's a really magical night. We work all day on the day of the show, not just on the music, but on the stage, and making it look like a little winter wonderland. So, and Ryan's brought the family before. I've seen him, and if he shows up on Friday night, guess what, guys? He's definitely going to be on stage.
There you go.
And I'm going to request Wagon Wheel, since I feel like
that's not a Christmas song.
It doesn't matter. We're going to put a quick Christmas twang to it.
Some people go to concerts.
Yeah, here's the. I don't even know it. I don't know all the words, but I'm going to let you I'll just play it. It's very easy.
I don't know the words.
All right, Friday night, PD Music on Twitter, PatrickDavisMusic.com, details there. Friday night, the Senate, which is right down there, right, just like 3 blocks.
Right down the street. So it's going to be a lot of Christmas holiday spirits. Hope to see everybody out there, and thanks, guys, for having me. And you enjoy the rest of this.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Hour.
That's right, Bruce Day here. That's Patrick Davis again. PatrickDavisMusic.com.
Later, buddy.
Friday night. Ben Portnoy in the house. Merry Christmas, Ryan Brewer.
Merry Christmas,
see
everybody.
You soon. Hour 2 coming up. Katos Power Equipment. Let me tell you what Ben and Matt and the crew have going on down there right now. Again, great gift ideas. If you are like me, you love working in the yard, but maybe the stuff you use is a little outdated. All right, whether it's gas-powered, electric, battery-powered, check out the brand-new selection of Toro battery-powered equipment. They've got mowers, trimmers, edgers, saws, pole saws, chainsaws, right? I mean, you need it. Blowers that are as powerful. Matt Stedman swears to me that the battery-powered blower is as powerful as the gas-powered blowers. All right, now, so check them out online, katospowerequipment.com, or better yet, stop in and see the fantastic selection. A lot of great year-end deals, too. And for those of you who do it for a living, all right, you can give yourself a little brighter holiday. katospowerequipment.com, 4012 West Beltline Boulevard. That's Katos. 4 o'clock on this Tuesday afternoon. I'm starting to get into that point already where I don't even know what day it is, but it is Tuesday right now.
Starting to get into that point?
Yeah, I know.
I'm afraid you've been in that point.
Thank you. Appreciate that. He's Elijah Campbell, failing miserably to keep me straight, which is not necessarily his fault. I'm Jay Phillips. Thanks again to Ryan Brewer for joining us on Bruis Day. I don't have a cool thing for Ben Portnoy. It doesn't fit quite the day as much. Port Day.
No, that sounds like something that is really vital to the economy.
That's true. Yeah.
That sounds like something that actually has a lot more importance than a sports talk segment,
yes.
I am afraid. And you turned on the wrong microphone for him.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, my
now you
goodness.
do it. You do it. There it is.
There it goes. I think we're on now.
How are you?
What's up, guys?
Good to see you.
No,
Ben, of course, before his current job on the beat, covering the Gamecocks for the state newspaper, now covering the business of college athletics for the Sports Business Journal. You were just in Vegas, yes?
I was just in Vegas, yeah.
And not just for fun.
No, I actually didn't lose any money gambling. So
did you gamble?
I didn't gamble.
There
so
you go.
That's a minor detail there.
Now,
but
see, that's my way. If you don't want to lose money gambling, there's a real simple way.
What if I want to win money gambling?
I wouldn't do it. Yeah, if you want to, you can try.
Listen, there's some great $5 blackjack tables a little bit off the strip, so it's a good spot to go and just hang out and flip cards for a while. Definitely not speaking from
Vegas vacation, or what's the high low and war?
Playing war.
Yeah.
See, my favorite thing to do is just go to the roulette table, put chips all across the board, and just stay at the table long enough to get free alcohol. And then that way, I'm not really losing a lot of money. I might win some, and I actually get a lot of free stuff while I'm there.
That's true. You drink enough, it pays for itself.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if y'all watch Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman, but Ari likes to gamble. He talks about it a lot. He's a poker player. He likes casinos whenever he can get to some. But he talked about, I guess, taking his daughter to a kid's birthday at some big, massive. He lives in Dallas, so they went to some big arcade. And he was like, I guess it's like a Frankie's Fun Park times 10 or something. He's like, this is just a kid's casino. He's like, there's no windows. They're pumping in oxygen. There's ATMs everywhere. There's the sound of machines going off all the time.
Sounds like every building in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Yeah, they're just he says they're basically just indoctrinating the kids.
Start seeing craps tables at Chuck E. Cheese.
That would be so awesome.
Betting on skee ball.
Yeah. Dude, there was something where they were going to start doing something.
At Dave and Buster's,
yeah.
Yes. They were going to let it to where you can, throw down some money on a game of skee ball.
Yeah. See, then, what's worse, betting on skee ball or betting on preseason NFL?
I think both are both are a form of Darwinism. How about that?
Yeah. We're going to get into a lot of things with Ben, but so I can pay off the tease from about 20 minutes ago-ish. And Ben, this can actually fit into our conversation, even though it's not necessarily the business, but it does have some things to do with it. We'll find ways to blend. But I talked about my solution for the transfer portal. All right, because we've had several coaches, ADs, even conference commissioners, and you were with a bunch of the conference commissioner types last week, right? And I'm sure they were perfectly fine with how the portal is running.
Yeah, they're super happy with everything happening in college sports. It's really great.
Look, I get it, but I hear guys like James Franklin and Rhett Lashley talking about this, but they not that they need to, but they don't offer solutions. They complain about the problem, which is fine. But I'm serious when I say this. If you're gonna bitch about it, let's offer up potential solutions, right? As far-fetched or as plausible and possible as they may be. We've talked a bunch about the fact that this month, most of the month of December, colleges in America are out, and they don't typically come back until the second week of January. This is when you can transfer, and of course your football season is over. And it is putting kids in a tough spot. So we know all of those things. So I'm not going to get into what's happening right now. The machinations of it right now are pretty widely known. Spring ball is in March and April at most places, right? And then the spring semester typically ends around America by the second week of May. So I got a real easy solution. You don't allow transfers anymore until May, and you basically move spring ball to the end of the month of May. You can still have spring ball. You can still have kids on campus doing whatever, but that's the only thing I think that's going to be really feasible here to make, and it won't be ideal. I get it, but will it be more acceptable than what we have right now? Because I don't know anything else that we're going to be able to do.
Yeah, I really like that. But I think the only thing I would change is make the entire spring football after the spring semester. Because the whole reason that guys are getting in the portal right now, even though you might be on a playoff team like the Penn State backup quarterback, is because there's so much pressure on these kids to be there for the spring. Because they know if they want to be the starting quarterback in August, you got to be there for the spring offensive install, everything. So even if you give teams an option to do pre-May spring football, that pressure to still use the winter transfer portal window will still be there. But if everything's after May, you eliminate that.
Lock down. There won't be you won't be able to transfer now and start in the. But yeah, I'm with you. That's that. And let me be more clear. I would not allow spring ball until, let's just say, May 25, and you open it up until June. Whatever.
I mean, you could even look at it as even shift it up a little bit. And I know we're kind of playing, back of the napkin math here with when you start these things. But if you take, you're both right. I think that's the problem with the transfer portal. And ultimately, the biggest problem for a lot of these issues is, A, the kids who are playing on the team are students. So they're associated with the school in some capacity. So you got to follow the school calendar. And B, they're not employees. So you can't just mandate this is when this is happening. This is when this is happening. Now, those are two larger issues that we could spend 16 hours talking about. But I think when you talk about the transfer portal, I think you're right, both Jay and Elijah. I think you look at, if you take it and say, hey, we're going to start spring ball. I'll even start it late, or start it early, right? Let's say spring ball for everyone. You're going to mandate a rule that everyone is going to start spring ball basically May 7th or something like that, right? At that point, you're at the end of the semester. Kids can transfer if they so desire. Maybe it's before that. Maybe it's after that. They finish out the semester during the spring. Now, the question is, what do you do with kids for the spring semester at that point, right? When they're in school, and what are you doing? And I don't know. It probably rearranges some workout schedules and things like that. How do you account for that? Maybe that's another issue that we can solve later. But I do think
that feels easier, right?
But I agree with you, right? It helps streamline a lot of this, because right now you're basically saying, and I forget who used this example the other day, but I think it was well held. I think it was maybe Kenny Dillingham who said this, was that you're basically, imagine that if you had the NFL playoffs they start in 3 weeks? Mm-hmm. Imagine if every single player on those team was a free agent the day that the NFL playoff starts, because that's what we're working with right now. And I think that because it's such a condensed calendar, I don't know what the right answer is, because again, you can't really move it before the season, because a lot of coaches will take issue with kids either decommitting, recommitting, whatever. There's a lot of recruiting that does happen during the fall, frankly. And so the calendar just gets really wonky. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who've suggested the idea of an early signing date before the season starts. Maybe that helps. The problem is again, there's a lot of traffic between, say, August 31 and December 15th, right? There's a lot of recruiting that happens during that time. So to have those kids basically stuck in this sort of in between for 8 months, basically, I don't know what you do. But to your point, the transfer thing, I think if you can find a way to separate out the transfer thing from the high school thing, you can find a way to streamline it. Now, where you stick those on the calendar, again, it becomes a fun moving game.
It does, and nothing is going to be perfect. Nothing will fit a so-called ideal. But I feel everybody, like I said yesterday, and I know, Elijah, you weren't here, but I said yesterday, I'm not using the Bo Prevula example, the Penn State, kind of number 2 quarter. I don't even want to call him the backup, because he plays.
They do run. Packages.
If you look at his numbers, he plays almost every game. He's not Drew Aller, but it is a horrible position to be in. But I had a caller yesterday, Ben, and now I want to blend in some of the things that you might have talked about in Vegas, and believe it or not, might be a smartass here as I pose this to you. But I had a caller yesterday say, why is it this way? And something that Elijah and I have been hammering away at for a long time. It's because for decade upon decade upon decade, the leadership of college athletics was breaking federal law, left and right, up and down, all over the place.
Yeah.
And then they decided not to begin to massage those things and come along with a new system. They decided to keep fighting once they were being sued by Ed O'Bannon in this House case, everything in between, right? And so here we are. They've been told what you're doing is illegal. It's not that it's bad, it's illegal. I'm curious, and I'm dead serious here now. How many folks that you were around last week, and you've been to a lot of these conferences since you've shifted into your new job, are really looking around at each other going, yeah, this is why, because we kept breaking federal law for, again, decades. Is there a genuine acceptance of the fact that they've created their own mess and then they fought to keep it rather than fought to change it?
Yeah, I think there is, and I think that that's why when you look at it as far as like, you know, how do we fix college sports, right? Like that's the magic sort of answer. And now there's like 18 prongs to that. But I think that to your point, right? Like I think when you talk to people, whether it's, you know, conference commissioners, athletic directors, like, you know, that's what I spend most of my days with is like, those are the people, I think most of those folks will tell you like, hey, yeah, guys, like we screwed up. This is dumb. Like what we did for 40 years was really stupid because now we're in the position we're in. Now this was going to happen. It was going to come to a head at some point. We're just all living through it. And I think that there's an acceptance of, now look, there's people who are more begrudging about it, like anything, and there's more people who are more, you know, proactive about it. But I do think that the problem that you run into, and I think a lot of it ties into like what we're seeing now in terms of how the model's changing, right? So like kids are being paid in some capacity, but we're still calling it NIL. We're not calling it, you know, payment, like, you know, right. Whatever. Revenue share, whatever. Like we're coming up with different names for functionally what is pay for play. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is the problem with college sports is that you've had so much change. And I get it. Like I actually sympathize for administrators, coaches, and et cetera. Like this is not what they signed up for. And I get that. Here's the problem. You've got this system that's fundamentally broken and you need to fix it, but you keep grasping onto straws of what was previously. And I think that's where I think a lot of administrators and I think becomes the issue is that you have things like, again, NIL is basically saying like, okay, well, it's okay to sign endorsement deals, but we can't pay you for being good at football. And it's like, guys, like, what are we doing here? It's the same thing, right? Like in practice, it's the same thing, right? A kid might be getting paid $750,000 for his, you know, 6 tweets about a local company, but like functionally what's happening is he's getting paid because he's a good defensive tackle or whatever it is. And so I think that that's where the problem is. And with the House settlement and with all these conversations about revenue sharing and everything else and a lot of these topics that I get it, like really frustrates fans because it's, again, it's like a lot of fans look at it and it's like, guys, like what the hell's going on? And I get that. Like I think it's actually totally valid to be frustrated with the system. And I think administrators see it. But I think I think people accept that what they've done in the past has led to this point. What I don't think there's been an acceptance of, and certainly there's complicating factors, whether it's employment or other pieces of this conversation as you move it forward, of guys, like we've got a broken system, which is a pain, right? Like I get it. Like it's broken, we got to fix it. But here's the thing, you can fix it and you can do some things to actually set this up for what to be sustainable. And I think that that's the problem is that there's still reticence from people to basically say, hey, let's really like hit the nuclear button, blow this thing entirely up, and basically start from scratch a little bit. And I think that's where you get a little bit more of that pushback from certain administrators, depending on who you talk to.
I want to use that as the jumping off point on the other side about what you heard last week in Vegas as we kind of look to the new year, because there's going to be so much that should fundamentally change about college athletics. And while we have him in the house, Elijah and I, you don't know this yet, but since you since you went to the University of Indiana, we will be picking your brain about how excited you are, nervous, etc.
I will be in South Bend
about
as well.
Yeah, excellent.
Flying out tomorrow, so this is a good time.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. Lots more to do with Ben Portnoy covering college, the business of college athletics for the Sports Business Journal. You are listening to the Postgame Show. 72 degrees in downtown Columbia right now, but in a couple of days it'll be a high in the 50s, lows in the 20s. Your HVAC system is all over the place, right? Well, make sure you beat the seasons with AAA Heating and Air. And if it's time for a system upgrade, Roy and Dana Finley have a fantastic opportunity that you can still take advantage of. Guaranteed financing options, 12 months, no payments or interest when you buy in 2024, a $1,500 system buyback rebate, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. All sounds good this time of year or any time of year? Well, get an instant quote and learn more about what it will cost you and your family and how much you can save over the lifetime of your system. Call AAAtoday.com is the website. Call AAAtoday.com, or you can use the phone, 803-677-1500. Quick repair, new system, anything in between. Stay comfortable all the time with AAA Heating and Air. And tell them we sent you. Twenty minutes after 4 o'clock on this Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. Our buddy Ben Portnoy, the Sports Business Journal, hanging out with us, talking the business of college athletics. We'll get his take as well as an IU grad on Like, okay, I'm going to hit that red button right there, that one right there.
There we go. We're on. We're back.
This is me being, and I don't know, I went to college across the street. So I'm not going to sit here and say that, I'm like Ohio State or something like that. But I joke a little bit. When you got to Bloomington, did you even know that Indiana had a football team?
So it's funny because I tell this story a lot, actually, is when I was looking at schools.
Because you grew up in the D.C. area.
I grew up in D.C.
Yeah.
I applied to a bunch of different schools, and I knew I wanted to be a journalism major, but I applied to a bunch of different schools, and I grew up a Michigan football fan because both my parents were Michigan grads. So I grew up on college football, and I pretty much applied. I applied to a handful of schools, and I remember the ones that I was deciding between were basically some combination of, I think it was actually, funny enough, Clemson, Georgia, Villanova, Indiana, and Missouri. And this was like obviously right off. I graduated in 2015, so this was right off of Missouri going to back-to-back SEC East title games.
So that's a bunch of college towns and Philadelphia.
Which now, so all those things, you look back, right? Mizzou was really good at that time. Georgia went and won a national championship during the time I was in school. Missouri was pretty good. Villanova won 2 national championships in basketball. Clemson was obviously really good.
And Nova's got a good football team. They just play.
They do. Yeah. So all those places had great success. Well, I went to Indiana, and they fired their football and basketball coach within a year of me being there. So I say that to say it was an experience. I watched a lot of really bad football. Now, some of my predecessors watched even worse football. Like I got a few 5-7 teams and got the tail end of the Kevin Wilson era. So there were some pretty good players, and there were some NFL dudes on a few of those teams. But it was an experience, and I always joke about it. Then I had Tom Allen for I guess about 2.5, 3 years when I was covering the team there. But I went from, in my first 2 jobs out of college covering Mississippi State and South Carolina, like I had 4 different coaches in 4 straight years. So I had Tom Allen to Joe Moorhead to Mike Leach to Shane Beamer.
Right.
So it was like whiplash. So I joked with Shane all the time about it when I would come back, he came back for my second year, and I guess it was his second year actually too, because he got hired around the same time I did, that he was the first coach that I'd covered in back-to-back seasons since I was a sophomore in college. So
the year before I got to Carolina, 2 years before, anyway, Carolina played Indiana in the Liberty Bowl. I didn't go to Memphis. A couple of my buddies did, but I remember watching miserable weather on television. Yeah. And even then I remember going like, Indiana plays football? Like, I know Bob Knight, right? I know Isaiah.
It's funny, like
he's smart, but who?
They don't play football.
They have a football team?
No, it's true. You go around and like I really do joke about it with some of my college friends. Like you'd think that Indiana just discovered that there's a football program at the school. Like it's crazy, and I think it's been interesting because like you can see the way that both like the marketing department and the school has got rallied around it, and just like how people are sort of like, how do we do this whole football thing? I went up for funny enough a buddy's bachelor party that got moved from Asheville after the hurricane, and we ended up going to Bloomington for the Washington game, and going back for college game day happened to be there that weekend, and so it timed up and worked out well. But seeing them passing out like these towels at the games, and first of all, seeing the stands filled was insane, because we always talked about it as, my buddies, like, the only time you ever see Memorial Stadium filled at Indiana is like on a video game, not in person, or when Ohio State's in town and it's all red, so you can't tell the difference. Right. Watching that stadium be filled and people waving rally towels around and like them kind of adopting this thing, and Signetti's been at the center of a lot of that. Obviously, it's been cool. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely it's an interesting program, though. I mean, there's a lot that's built to it, I will say. I wrote about this in the off season, actually, funny enough, before they went on the run that they've gone on. But Indiana spent pretty much about a decade sort of reinvesting in football. And obviously they're seeing the fruits of bearing the fruits of that slavers this year. But they've spent it goes back about 10 years from when they first hired Kevin Wilson to now. A lot of the investments they put into both facilities, both staffing, coaching, et cetera, and really modernized the program in a way that the school really just didn't put a priority on for 100 years.
Well, and
it's been interesting.
I don't know how it's like, what daily life is like, but I mean, you think about the success of Peyton and then to some degree Andrew Luck before he got hurt. I mean, there's people love football, but IU is just, Bob Knight's ghost will loom forever.
Well, and even Purdue, right? Like Purdue's had really good. Like you look in the state, right? Obviously Notre Dame's in the state, though. Though honestly, Notre Dame could be in North Dakota.
Yeah, they could be.
It wouldn't matter, right? Like it's in practice, it's in.
Yeah, they're in Notre Dame, USA.
Right, exactly. Notre Dame's obviously in the state, so you got a lot of Notre Dame fans in the state of Indiana. But then Purdue, even like you look back, like they had some really good teams in the 90s and early 2000s, right? Drew Brees, obviously, and
tons of quarterbacks
that have come out of there. Like, so it's interesting. Like Indiana's really the one school in that state that hasn't had any type of football success, and
Antoine Randall L, man. That's about all I can tell you.
Anthony Thompson probably should have won the Heisman. Probably should have won the Heisman in the 80s.
Anthony Thompson,
I know that. I think that's because George Rogers won over Anthony Thompson in 80.
No, it was George, Hugh Green, and Herschel was the top three.
Okay.
Yeah. So Anthony was in the mix somewhere a couple years later, I think.
Yeah, there you go. So there's, again, few and far between. So it's a fascinating dynamic. It really has been cool to see how people have jumped on the
We'll come back around to your trip to South Bend coming up here. A few minutes left in this segment, but again, you were out in Vegas last week. Official conference title this time was
the Sports Business Journal Intercollegiate Athletics Forum.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. So let me just ask, what big piece of news may have come out where Ben Portnoy went, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, there were obviously a lot of really great speakers. Charlie Baker, the president of the NCAA, spoke. A lot of pretty high-powered athletic directors were there. Texas, Oklahoma, Graham Neff up the road in Greenville, or excuse me, I should say Clemson. A few others, whatever we want to call it.
That upstate school.
Upstate, up that way. A whole bunch of other folks sort of that ilk. Just talking a lot about kind of just the trends that they're seeing in college athletics. I think one of the things that I think I took away that I found really interesting was a lot of athletic directors talking about how to kind of better monetize what they're doing. And I say that to say of like, I think we've talked about it on this show, like jersey patches and field logos and things like that, which I know for some people it makes their eyes glaze over. But I do think it's like those are things that are super valuable assets for schools to sell where, when we talk about this sort of salary cap that might be coming because of the House settlement, which is about $20 million, like, I talked to some folks at some pretty high major schools that like think that, hey, if we're ever allowed to sell a jersey patch, we're probably going to fetch north of $10 million for that. Guess what? There's half your revenue share right there. Yeah. And that's annually, to be clear. That's annually. So, things like that of how our athletic department's looking to basically operate more like professional athletic departments, I think is a fascinating dynamic, how they're staffed, who's in the athletic director chairs. I think, frankly, like I know a lot of people in South Carolina probably aren't super familiar with Jeremiah Donati, who just got hired, but, knowing him a little bit and knowing the market that he came from and a lot of folks that have worked with him, like I think he's a guy that really does see things like in a modern lens.
He was on the show yesterday and asking that very thing. It was like, how have you positioned TCU in, a metro area of millions where Dallas Cowboys reign supreme, but so does UT.
Mm-hmm. And to that end, like I was talking to someone who's pretty close to Jeremiah the other day, and he made the point. He was like, "Listen, he raised $500 million at TCU. I think he'll do all right at South Carolina. It'll be all right." And so, but I say that to say is like, there's a lot of folks of that ilk, like who I think are thinking about things differently and how athletic departments are structured, how to fundraise, what to shift priorities toward. And I think it was a lot of the conversation centered on that. And I think that there were a lot of, I think like anything in college athletics, there's a lot of ideas, but no one seems to have a really great, clear solution to which of those ideas is feasible, whether it's super leagues or otherwise. So it's certainly a crazy time, but those are some of the highlights, I would say.
Come back on the other side. I've got 3 letters that I want to ask about, but I'm not going to say what they are.
Okay.
All right. You might be able to guess, but I have 3 letters that I will ask Ben about to go along with what he just touched on. Ben Portnoy with us here for the rest of the 4 o'clock hour. Langston coming up in just a bit. And again, about an hour from now, it'll be our first ever college football playoff edition of the Wild Card Showdown with Carolina-Alabama men's basketball tickets as the prize. So a busy second half of the program coming at you. You're listening to the Postgame Show. All right, so holidays, stress, all right, wrapping packages, putting gifts in the car, putting the tree up, whatever else, right? You get up in the morning, you're like, man, why am I so stiff? What's going on here? Well, might be time to work out the tightness of holiday stresses at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. 4 very convenient locations across the Columbia metro area: Harbison Boulevard, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch off Killian up in the northeast side of town, and Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. The Joint is convenient. It's affordable. It helps you maintain a healthy body. It prevents reoccurring issues. They are FSA and HSA approved. And again, convenience. Listen, no worries about insurance, no worries about appointments. Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, Saturdays, 10 to 4. Initial exam, just $29. See what it's all about. Remember, at the Joint, you don't have to feel bad to feel better.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one on Kaufman Road at Benson Road, one on Corley Mill Road at US 378. An object on the roadway is causing some issues on Highway 707. We have an accident on I-20 westbound at US 378 near exit 61. One on Long Green Parkway at Clemson Road, Old Cherokee Road at Rollingwood Drive, South Carolina 277 southbound at I-20, Sparkleberry Lane near Viking Drive, St. Andrews Road at Harbison Boulevard near Emory Lane, and lastly, one accident on US 378 at I-77.
Talking the business of college athletics with our buddy Ben Portnoy of the Sports Business Journal for a couple of seasons on the beat covering the Gamecocks for the state paper. Moving on to the national scene just out in Vegas with a bunch of the bigwigs. All right, I mentioned 3 letters that I think will basically be necessary, mandatory, if we're going to get real change, and that is CBA. Some form of collective bargaining has to take place because, again, this is one of the things that Elijah and I just bang the drum on all the time when people ask. And we've already mentioned it once with you, but I'll mention it again if you've just tuned in. Why are we in the mess we are in? Because for decade upon decade upon decade, the NCAA and its member institutions were just blatantly breaking federal law, breaking the law. And now they've been sued, they've lost, they've appealed, they've lost. And one of the things I've said, Ben, because it's true, and everybody needs to understand this, even if you don't like it, you can't restrict the rights of free American adults. And that's what the NCAA was doing for a long, long time. People say, what about the pros? The pros have collective bargaining. Is that coming? Do people, they may not want it, but what were you hearing from folks last week about where we could be headed with that?
Well, I think you're right. I think like this is an interesting discussion because I kind of wrote about this actually, funny enough, last fall and was probably a little bit ahead, put the cart a little bit before the horse on it. But I think that, you know, you hear people talk about in college athletics these days, right? Like the debate about employment. And ultimately that's what we're talking about, right? Whether athletes are employees, because in order to collectively bargain under federal law, you have to be an employee. That's just how the law works. That said, I think that a lot of people are split because I think there's a lot of, I mean, look, like there's a lot of factors here as why college athletic departments don't want to pay athletes as employees. First of all, because, and I think I'm not breaking news here, right? Like you've ultimately got two sports basically that are making money, right? Like you've basically got two, and even really to a bigger degree, football, right? Like we're talking about basically one sport that bankrolls 75 to 85% of athletic departments nationwide, give or take. Of those, 75 to 85% of those athletic departments' budgets, I should say. And I think because of that, are you going to have a world where, say, like, you know, make up a sport? The men's soccer team are employees. And it's not a knock on men's soccer. It's just that those sports aren't set up currently as constructed to make money. Right. So if you're going to be paying benefits and overtime and everything else that comes with employment, can you do that just for football and basketball and say women's basketball as well? Or do you have to do that for everything from football to the rowing team? And I think that's where you have the issue. Because I think if you could just wave a magic wand, whatever, make up the laws from scratch, I think most college administrators would say, yeah, we'll make our football team and our two basketball teams employees, and everyone else can be whatever it is that they are, right? And sort of exist in this sort of student athlete, you know, kind of myth that we've all kind of lived in for a long time, and then as sort of the jargon, I should say. So I think that that's where you get the problem around employment, and to what you were asking, I think, about collective bargaining. Like that's the ultimate issue, is that like the House settlement, and the plaintiffs' attorneys won't tell you this, or the NCAA certainly won't tell you this, but the House settlement is functionally collective bargaining without getting any of the athletes' input. Like, I mean, look, I'm not a lawyer. I can't speak to it. I can, you know, I took enough legal classes in college to be dangerous, but like, you know, not enough to really say, but like ultimately, like that's kind of what you're looking at right here. And I think that again, like collective bargaining, like obviously it's complicated. There again, like you have to figure out the employment thing before you can get to a collective bargaining agreement. But I think that like when I say that, like what I really mean is when I say a CBA or a collective bargaining agreement, what I'm really saying is, hey, we're going to set up the rules for college football, and here's what they're going to be. And everyone's going to get around the table, and we're going to talk about them, and you're going to agree to them. And when your quarterback transfers and his waiver gets denied, your attorney general can't sue the NCAA because that's just what the rule is, right? And that's I think the place we need to get to. I think that when you talk to a lot of people, you know, certainly again, like there's a lot of hurdles to get from where we're at now to there. And I think we're probably still a couple of years away from it. But I do think that like because things are changing so rapidly, like yeah, if you told me in 5 years there could be some semblance of something like that, maybe. But I do think that I think that most people understand that a collective bargaining agreement would probably fix most of the issues that are happening with college football. But the problem is you can't really necessarily just apply it to college football. Yeah. And I think that's the sort of crux of the issue, at least where it lands for me, at least.
And one thing, too, that I've thought about is what role should the conferences individually be able to have in this? Because, look, the needs of a school in the SEC are significantly different than the needs of a school in the SWAC, right? Like, they live on two different planets. So if we were able to collectively bargain, the needs of one end of the spectrum to the other are so dramatically different, and to be able to collectively bargain athletes across all sports, across all Division I schools, all 364 of them, is a fairy tale, and it won't actually, that part won't work, which is why I have kind of like a half-baked idea of like, what if we had just conference-specific, I guess, collectively bargained groups for different sports? Like, what role can the conferences like actually be able to play in terms of running their sports individually, instead of having to rely on the NCAA and having like, you know, one representative from each school have to basically try to come up with the best needs for everybody across all sports, across all conferences?
No, that's a really good question. And I think the conferences are, frankly, like the reason why this is so complicated on some level is that, you know, let's circle the SEC and the Big Ten, right? Like the SEC and the Big Ten are so powerful to the point where whatever they say goes. But the problem is you can't have one without the other right now. You just can't. Like, that's just not how college sports is set up. And the way that college sports has evolved has always been through this sort of like decentralized power structure, right? Like the conferences are kind of here, there, and everywhere, and this regionality, and it's led to a lot of, frankly, the quirky stupidity that everyone loves about college football. Like, frankly, I love that stuff. The problem is now you're trying to set rules for everyone, and no one's going to set a rule that someone else isn't going to agree to. So, like, I'll use an example. So, like, I was talking to a pretty high-level administrator, and I think I talked to a conference commissioner about this as well, was about the idea of, like, hey, are you guys as a conference going to have someone say, like, hey, SEC, every kid that is going to get part of the revenue share from their school starting in July 1, right? Every kid that's going to get a check cut from them from the University of South Carolina or whatever, University of Florida, every kid in the SEC is going to sign the same piece of paper. And I was like, is that kind of what you're looking at? And a lot of schools a lot of conferences have kicked this around. You know, I think I reported about a month ago that the Big 12 was was about the furthest along with this. And they said to me, they were like, look, it's a great idea on paper, right? It standardizes things. It makes sense. It keeps schools kind of moving in the same direction. Here's the problem. If we as the SEC are going to do it, if we as the SEC are going to do it, but the Big Ten isn't, then we sure as hell are not going to sign that piece of paper, right? Like the point is like it's a competitive advantage, and I think that that's kind of the problem here that we run into is that you've got these sort of warring factions that are sort of like with each other but kind of against each other, and everyone's trying to get an edge, and like you have that certainly in professional sports, right? But you have at least ground rules that are set up to create those, right? Like the teams are not creating the rules in the NHL, right? The league office is, right? You don't have that here. Like here, the equivalent is like, you know, the Chicago Blackhawks aren't saying, hey, actually our cap is going to be this, but like the Washington Capitals can pay this. It's like, again, like that's sort of the problem, and it's the fundamental problem with college sports, where it's so decentralized that like everyone kind of has to look out for themselves. And I don't fault people for it. Like that's survival, right? In business and in college athletics and whatever, right? No matter what the business is, whether you're running an investment firm or this, right? But I think that that's why when you see things like that, like I said, like using sort of the revenue sharing agreement example, like if it is why the conferences are both like an impediment and also sort of part of the solution as well.
I got about a minute left in this segment. Tony Petitti of the Big Ten, Greg Sankey of the SEC. What do you hear about how much better their relationship is in direct relation to when Kevin Warren was running the Big Ten?
I think it's certainly better. I mean, look, they're talking a lot. I think there's a lot of shared ideas. I think that we talk about, you know, what I was talking about before of how you have very unlike things. Like I do think actually like the Big Ten and the SEC are more on the same page, and you know, talking to people in the Big Ten too have asked about it as well, and as well as the SEC, and like I think the feeling from that side of things is like, yeah, guys, like we're all dealing with the same stuff. Like, why are we not just sitting down and talking about this? And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, really, like, and I get it. Like, some people see that as cutting out the middleman of whatever, the NCAA, the ACC, the Big 12, and I understand why there's frustration from those groups. But I do think, again, like, you've got two conferences that are fairly similar in size, scope, influence, etc. that, like, I think Greg and Tony are pretty determined to sort of figure this out. Now, I think they both have different visions on probably what college athletics could be. Now, whether both of them want to, you know, hit the big red button and blow everything up, I don't know. You know,
nobody wants to, right? But
I don't know. I think maybe, look, could you say that Petiti is more willing to blow up the whole thing than Sankey? Maybe. Is it vice versa? Maybe. Like I think it just depends on the week, frankly.
I was going to say, honestly, on the day or the topic.
It seems like, but I do think like, I do think that you've got. I do think that those two leagues talking to each other and working together, and Sankey and Petiti's relationships definitely are a little more, for lack of a better term, cozy than it's been in the past. And I think that's probably at large a good thing. We'll
get Ben out of here on the other side. We'll talk a little football with him as well. Again, he's getting ready to make a big CFP trip. We'll discuss that when the postgame show returns. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of our second hour. Jay and Elijah with you. Our buddy Ben Portnoy hanging out here. Appreciate his time. Been with us for the 4 o'clock hour. Talking a lot of the business of college athletics as we get into the new year. Ben is headed to South Bend. He's an IU grad and is very excited. What the Irish are, hang on, I got it here, touchdown favorites.
Is it just a touchdown?
Yep, touchdown. That's what I got this morning from the 4-letter network's gambling site, betting site. Whatever you want to call it, ESPN Bet. Let's just say it that way. Again, you wouldn't have even dreamed of this a few years ago, and now look at you.
It's crazy. I remember some of those games that we watched were really, really bad, but it has been it's cool. It's a cool thing, and I think, you know what? Look, like, obviously I went to Indiana, so it's fun, and it's, you know, fun to see your alma mater and participating in something like this. But I do think that Indiana, SMU, even Clemson, frankly, this year, you know, others, like, ultimately, like, this is what was going to be good about the 12-team college football playoff, right? Like, you've got brands that, first of all, I think these are kind of two separate conversations, but I think they matter together. The transfer portal has dispersed talent across the sport, and calendar aside, a lot of the effects of the transfer portal have been really good for college football. It's created parity, and I think that's generally a really good thing. The second part of that is, again, because that talent is more dispersed, you've got more brands and more schools that are capable of playing at a really high level. And I think that you're seeing that again with the 12-team playoffs, sort of bringing it back. Like, you've got, you know, you look at some of those last 3 weeks of the regular season, like, you had huge games all across the country. Yeah. People are tuning into Boise State games in a way that they wouldn't care about otherwise. And
Carolina,
I think,
Clemson had a lot on it, even if it didn't ultimately.
Exactly. Like, so you've got more fan bases engaged. You've got more schools engaged. You've got more schools that are actually participating and making the field. So I think, like, all in all, like, listen, there's a lot of stuff that's going on with college sports. But I think that ultimately, like, the expanded playoff ultimately, I think, is a really good thing for the sport, right. And we're seeing that.
Last thing for you, and I probably should have done this earlier because you won't have enough time here. Bill Belichick's hire at North Carolina. You mentioned Curt Cignetti and what's happening at Indiana, positioning themselves, knowing what football is. Is what's happening in Chapel Hill because they know soon enough they will be in either the Big Ten or the SEC?
So this is a really interesting conversation, actually, because I went up to Chapel Hill, I guess, last fall, 2023, and it was kind of before the wheels fell off with Mac, and they were coming off a couple of pretty good years, and they felt like they were going to be pretty good with, I guess, Drake May was still there at the time. And I talked, and actually the story I wrote was basically about how UNC had reinvested in football since Mac got back, and donations were way up. The budgets that they had put together for football were way up. Now, NIL was not quite where it needed to be, and that was also about a year and a half ago, so it looked a little bit different. But, and it was about how UNC was sort of rowing in the right direction on a lot of that. Now, obviously, the bottom fell out a little bit, and that story did not age super well, but such is life.
Not sure it was the writer's fault.
Yeah, I swear it wasn't my fault. Sorry to my North Carolina friends. I promise it wasn't my fault that the football team was bad. But
if it is, then
I'll blame the media.
I have a list of schools I'd like for you to visit. That.
No. This has been like a running joke that
I'll give you my kill list.
This is a running joke that I think, like, last year I visited like 5 campuses, and I think every single one of those teams lost that following week or something like that. It was really bad. I was on
Grim Reaper.
Yeah. I was on a bad streak.
You're like the SI cover jinx.
I really was on a bad streak there for a minute, but
I'll compile the list right now.
Yeah, it was bad. But I say that to say, when you look at what UNC is doing with Bill Belichick, look, I think UNC has basically said, hey, we're going to participate in this rev share. I think the number that came out was that they're going to contribute like $13 million to football, which is roughly about 70-ish% of that rev share, if I'm doing my math right. I'm probably a little bit off, but 65%, give or take. And so that's a big number for an ACC school, right? Like, that's a lot of money for a football team to work with in this new world order based on what we think it's going to look like. I think Belichick is a fascinating case study. I think it's going to go really poorly or really well, and I don't know if there's a lot of in between. I just don't know where to land with it. I think that there's a lot of people that you talk to in the space that are really split on it. I think the recruiting piece is going to be really interesting. I had talked to a lot of people about this actually in Vegas just because it was kind of breaking as it was happening, and talking to administrators about it. And I think that, a lot of the consensus was around like, hey, if he was doing the like general manager thing and he was coming in and he was going to oversee the salary cap for the football program and talent evaluate and things like that, That might be a little bit better, but I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic.
We'll see. Safe travels up, man. It's gonna be fun. That's cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
And I hope you have. I know we talked off air, so you're weather prepared.
I am. I've got my jacket, got my boots.
Yeah.
We're good.
Good stuff. He's been Portnoy, Portnoy15 to follow on Twitter. Make sure you do. A lot of great stuff all the time. Sportsbusinessjournal.com is the website. And happy holidays, man. We'll see you when you come back around for the new year. But I want a debrief of the CFP. Langston Moore talking more football coming up. Keep it here. Guys, as you get a little bit older, you're just feeling off mentally, physically, combination there. I think they call that physiologically. You're wondering why? Well, don't wait for it to change. Don't wait for it to go away, because chances are neither one of those things are going to happen. Instead, go see Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the Men's Clinic. You'll get a one-on-one consultation with medical professionals that are experts in healthcare for men. There's a lot of things that could be going on, all right? Maybe multiple things. Maybe it's just one thing. There's no one-size-fits-all. There's no magic pills like you see with some television commercials. Again, these are true medical professionals, and for years and years, they have been very successfully helping guys get back to feeling like they want to, like they did when they were younger. You can do it even as you age. So, do yourself a favor. Do your family a favor. 803-875-MENS. Set up that free consultation. Learn more about what they do all the time and the guys they've helped at themensclinicsc.com.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways. We'll start with one on Kaufman Road at Benson Road, another accident on Long Green Parkway at Clemson Road, Old Cherokee Road at Rollingwood Drive, Pickens Street at Blossom Street, Platte Springs Road between McLee Road and South Lake Drive. Got one on South Carolina 277 southbound at I-20, and lastly, one on US 378 near Calks Ferry Road.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Tuesday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show. Final hour here, and not a whole lot going on news-wise. So we're going to basically turn this into a Langston Moore segment with the news. I will say this much. Congratulations to Coach Shane Beamer today. Shane was named a finalist for the Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year Award. He joins the list with Kenny Dillingham of Arizona State, Marcus Freeman of Notre Dame, Oregon's Dan Lanning, and Jeff Monken from the United States Military Academy. So far this season, those coaches' teams are 55-7, and collectively have 227 wins, 5 conference titles in their careers. So congratulations to Coach. Let me see if it tells me when this award will be announced. It does not, but I guess it's Elijah. I'll just say soon. Does that help? That they'll announce the award soon?
Before the new year. How about that?
Okay.
My bet.
I would like to think that they would tell me that. But I do not see it in the release, unless I'm just missing it, which I could be. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But I don't see it in here anywhere. I was, can I say, a little surprised. I mean, Kurt Cignetti not on the list?
Yeah, that's highway robbery.
I'm not quite sure what happened there.
Because he may or may not have, in the first year of taking one of the hardest jobs in college football, taken a team to the college football playoff with 11 wins.
Yeah, that's
and only 1 loss.
That's interesting.
While doing so with 35 transfer players.
Interesting.
I think that takes some good coaching.
Yes.
I don't know. Could be wrong. Whatever.
All right, we're efforting, industry term.
Yeah, currently efforting.
All right, we'll get
Langston Moore.
Yeah, we'll get Langston
you
here.
Did tell him that we were calling today. After hearing your story in the first segment of the show today, I feel like this is a valid question.
Well, hang on. Let me make absolutely certain here. Yeah, now you have me. Now you have me.
How much you want to bet?
Hang on. Just hang on. No, I got a thumbs up. 5 to 5:30.
Okay.
But I think he was doing something, so he'll be with us.
He'll get with us when he gets with us,
and he knows that you just called him.
Yes.
So there's that.
That's how cell phones work. So.
Do appreciate Ben Portnoy's time as well. They're having a lot of fun talking about where these changes come from, and again, like Rhett Lashley, the head coach at SMU, was talking today about the CFP and playing Penn State. Said, quote, "I feel so awful for our kids and kids around the country. There's no other sport at all that has free agency in the season. It's terrible. It's sad. You hear the story about their backup quarterback," and he means
Penn State's
Bo Prabula of Penn State, saying, "I don't have a choice. That's wrong. That's unacceptable. That's not okay. He shouldn't have to make that decision," end quote, from Coach Lashley ahead of their trip to college or to a state college to take on Penn State. I agree with him 100%. But like I say, who do I get mad at? I go back to a couple of years ago. Who you mad at? If you're a college football fan especially, who you mad at? And just stop and think about it for a minute. Are you mad at the kid? Are you mad at the school? Are you mad at, quote, the NCAA? Remember, it's made up of member institutions that vote on this. There's no one that gets to play Emperor Palpatine.
Really, the NCAA's main role for the last, 100 years is punishment. That's like the most.
Basically.
That's like their only active committee. It's the only active anything they put on a yearly basis is a group of people to investigate and determine who gets punished what.
And so I'm mad at everybody. But again, as I've said, you can't you can't keep breaking the law. And I know a lot of fans around the country, yeah, but I want that old system back. Well, but again, it's illegal. And we had a guy yesterday call the show and ask.
It's like still wanting cocaine to be in Coca-Cola. All right, that's illegal. We can't do that anymore. You can't go back to that.
I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. I just want it to be as simple as possible. You may not like it, but it's been proven to be against the law. Again, multiple lawsuits. The NCAA lost them all, even taking one of them all the way to the Supreme Court, where they lost 9-0. And yet still, Mark Emmert basically said, well, yeah, but it's not really like fundamentally we still believe in what we're like. No, man. I know you want to believe, but this is why. When you have the leader of the organization basically taking a 9-0 Supreme Court decision and going, well, we don't see it as a loss so much, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically that's what he said. And we just see it as a difference in opinion. No, man. No.
9-0's not a difference in opinion.
You're breaking the law over and over and over again. You're writing rules that are breaking American law, federal law.
Borderline delinquency.
They are. And I've said, too, again, you can't restrict the rights of free adult Americans. All right? You can restrict the rights of children, and you can restrict the rights of people that have been incarcerated because they aren't free. Other than that, you can't do it. That's kind of what America is. That's kind of what we fought 2 wars against England for. Is because you can't tell me what to do.
Went undefeated, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Put that on the resume.
Not in. I mean, you can tell me what, but I've got to. Again, your employer can because you agreed to your employment, or when you sign up for certain things. But that's all part. But you freely partook of those things, and there are a lot of college athletes who didn't. While you may say, well, they signed up for this, yeah, but once they got sued, they realized, oh, again. They should have seen the writing on the wall 20 years ago with the Ed O'Bannon thing and started then. And I'm not trying to I've done that before on the show. I'm not trying to rehash it. But when you wonder why we're in this mess, this is why. Because for decades, they kept breaking the law and trying to get away with it and then told themselves, well, let's go fight it. But think about that. That's what gets me, is especially going into the case, the Alston case that was the one that was 9-0 in the Supreme Court. Imagine sitting in meetings with in-house and outside counsel. What was that like? Because they're not paying $100 an hour lawyers. I'll just say it like that.
They're pretty expensive.
Okay. They're not even close to $100 an hour lawyers. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If that's what you can afford, they could afford better, and they did. All right, the ones they want the in-house and the outside counsel. Some of them had to be looking at the leadership, at college presidents, chancellors, the NCAA executive committee, whatever they call themselves, going, y'all, seriously, we've got nothing to stand on. Well, I need you to go fight it anyway. Okay. But this is like taking your football team out there. Again, this is your JV high school football team going up against the 78 Steelers. You can have the coach of that team, right, going, hey, boss. Like the principal of the school, right? We're probably not going to do very well out there today. School pride.
That's right.
School pride.
We're going to fight this because I believe in you.
We have a football program at our school.
Sir, I don't believe in us.
And these 14 and 15-year-olds can absolutely go out there and go toe-to-toe with 15 future Hall of Famers.
Which I guess if you played them today in 2024, I like your chances a little bit. But
I don't know. Terry Bradshaw can still sling it, man.
I've seen him move around on the NFL on Fox set. I don't know.
Anyway, so that's where we are. And I came up with a solution earlier today that I again move spring ball to the second half of May. Basically, once everybody's done, and I know school calendars may have. Most schools are probably done by mid-May.
Mm-hmm.
Open the transfer portal up, and you know what? If and I don't know how this would work, so I'm kind of thinking out loud here as I propose something like this, but. You'll end the season in January with a title game. By then, there's only 2 teams left. And then, Elijah, at that point, open the portal, if you will. Johnny and Jimmy and Joe are still all going to be in school at their current school. But allow that to be a recruiting time that semester.
for the and then you can schedule like an adequate amount of visits for players.
They can visit on weekends, and you can go see them, and you can have these kind of things done. But you just won't have spring ball until the last 2 weeks of May, or even the first 2 weeks of June, or something like that. Or have a 1 month when you get 15 practices, right?
And you can do that in a month.
Yeah, have a 30-day window for those 15 practices. All those kids are on campus anyway. They're all taking summer courses because nobody takes 15 hours during a semester anymore. They take 12 because you got football or whatever your sport is.
Yeah.
It's very rare to see an athlete take more than 12 hours. And I get it. That's not a knock. Because that's a full-time job.
Yeah, I would do the same thing.
Yeah, your sport is your job. And now, of course, they're going to get some compensation for it. But just do that. I mean, I don't think that would really harm anybody all that much.
No, at all.
And then you can still give them a break. Find a way for them to have some time off somewhere. That's not that hard either. And do it that way. Again, nothing is going to be perfectly ideal because nothing in life ever really is. But this system right now, the way it is, it does stink. But it has to be what it is because of school.
Mm-hmm. So then just move it. That's why I like your ideas, because you can just move it around school, right? I mean, you're given a calendar. You don't have to have your spring practices during the semester. You can move it afterwards. Because like you said, you can take classes in, summer class, a Maymester, if you will. I have taken a Maymester. It's something that you can do, right? And here's the thing now, with what college football has done with the expansion of their playoff, moving their season up an extra month, all right? This isn't just moving it an extra week. They've moved up the season an extra month. The national championship game will be played on January 20th, when almost every school in America will be back in session for at least a week.
Right.
That has to be fixed.
It does. That's what's problematic about a lot of this. All right, Langston will join us on the other side of the break, and coming up in about 20 minutes or so, we will play our first ever college football playoff wild card showdown. We don't have a beer card up for grabs this time. Instead, we have Carolina, Alabama men's basketball tickets, the conference opener at CLA.
Home conference opener, yes. They will be playing Mississippi State on the 4th.
Let's see. It is on January the 8th. That's a Wednesday. There you go.
That's a big game.
Yes.
Alabama's going to be in the top 10.
So that will be the prize up for grabs for this week's first ever CFP edition of the Wild Card Showdown. All right, Langston on the other side to get into a few thoughts on the bowl game, what's going on around the NFL. You are listening to the Postgame Show. Love telling you about how the folks at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union can make life a little bit easier for you with all of your banking needs, and especially this time of year when you've got family and friends in and out of the house, right? It's time for a better kitchen to cook all that food, or you need a new guest bedroom, or you need to fix up that guest bathroom because your mother-in-law was kind of giving you, some guff, or whatever it might be. Not that that's ever happened with me. I'm just saying. Or maybe time to consolidate some high-interest debt. Well, a home equity line of credit could be a great option for you. You love your house. You love your neighborhood. You've been there a while. Take advantage of that equity. And when you unlock that equity, you can access that line of credit over a 10-year draw period to assist with all of your needs and goals, whatever they might be. Apply today. Learn more. PalmettoCitizens.org, or stop in and see the great folks at any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. Join my wife and me as members at Palmetto Citizens. 18 minutes after 5 o'clock here on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. And joined on the guest line now by our very good friend, the former Gamecock D lineman, team captain, draft pick of the Cincinnati Bengals, and now children's book author extraordinaire, amongst many other things, barbecue aficionado. In fact, we were talking about Texas barbecue, Mr. Moore, as we interviewed Jeremiah Donati yesterday. We didn't talk about South Carolina barbecue relative to Texas barbecue, but he did say he likes fried chicken and banana pudding. I said there's plenty of that in Columbia, South Carolina.
Can we somehow get fried chicken, banana pudding? I don't know if everybody like that, but, some type of coating. They got the hot honey sweet now. So I'm always up for the food technology advancements as we move forward in our lives.
All right, some people will go like, oh, Jay, are you serious? But you know what? If you took the fried chicken batter and just crisped it up real good and drop that over like a strudel or whatever over the banana pudding,
like breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Kind of like breadcrumbs.
Yeah. I'm down for that. I'm down for that.
Jay, you sound like a man. You sound like a man who's experimented in the kitchen. I can't believe it's almost been a year since you whipped up that Christmas tree dip, and now I see Little Debbie has a whole new arm of things now. Have you seen the all-white Christmas Nutty Buddies out, Jay?
I have not. I thought you were going to tell me that Little Debbie is now making the dip.
Oh, no, Jay. We need something for 2025. Don't give them everything right now. 2024, we need something for like the 5. It's the 10-year anniversary of the Christmas tree dip. But no, the Nutty Buddies, they are in white chocolate with Christmas colors on it. But I will tell you this. There's this thing called shrinkage, not for, the men's health clinic commercials that you guys do. But,
It's just cold.
They took half the Nutty Buddy away, Jay. There used to be it felt like it was 4 layers. But there's 4 layers in there. I bit into it just for science reasons, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But, there's layers, but, it's not as thick as the other Nutty Buddies I used to see for, 25 cents in the store, which, again, you probably can't get that anymore. I don't know. It's amazing. It's amazing that these things happen. They improve the Nutty Buddy technology, but then they take part of it away. It's I don't know. It's like the gift and the curse, Jay. I don't know what's happening.
I'll check those out. I'll check those out. But no, I have not seen that yet. We did buy some of the Little Debbie gingerbread men, and that lasted about 30 seconds.
Shrinkage on those two, I guess.
Well, just.
First of all,
is there a shrinkage problem with Little Debbie right now? Now I'm concerned with a scandal on our hands.
I'm just saying, they're putting more and more air in the bags. They're cutting the chips down. They used to be the mega chips. They used to be really big. I swear, I know my hand has grown. The Doritos used to be really large. Now it just feels like they're little mini chips. What's going on? All of these, you're giving me more and more options, but less and less volume. So it's a volume game for me.
Yeah.
And for more money at that.
Yeah, that's
true. For more money at that.
Yeah, or they keep the money, they keep the price point, but then you just get less product. I just got a text that said I never thought I would hear shrinkage on the air.
We're talking about food.
We're talking about a scandal. Yes, it's a scandal that's happening right now.
Yes, it is.
Over the Nutty Buddy bar, it's gotten dramatically smaller, and less people are satisfied, Jay. I don't feel like it's filling up my stomach as it used to do when I was a young child. I've checked. I've done the research. There's 4 layers, but not as much filling.
All right, I'll also, like you, I'll get some scientific research done on my days off and figure that out. I have Mr. Moore to move into things we could snack while we're watching football this weekend. We got Clemson and Texas. We got Tennessee and Ohio State. We got SMU, Penn State, SMU from your neck of the woods there, and Indiana and Notre Dame. I have Notre Dame beating Indiana. I have Penn State beating SMU. I have Tennessee beating Ohio State, Langston Moore. And I have Texas beating Clemson. Do you like those picks for the weekend?
I like all of those picks. I just think the SMU game will probably be the closest one just because I feel like, James Franklin, what's going to be the thing that drives James Franklin off the road? Is it going to be the winning to Ohio State? Is it going to be little SMU winning a playoff game and getting into the next semifinals route? Is it going to be one of those deals? All of your picks, I think, are correct. But I think the SMU game is just going to be a little bit closer, and who knows what can happen. These ragtag Mustangs from inner Metroplex Dallas going up there and Happy Valley and just ruining stuff. Who knows what can happen? But I think all your picks are right, but I do have a little asterisk next to that Penn State game.
Yeah, have Penn State squeaking out of that game, but then I actually do have them losing to Boise State. I mean, when you watch Boise State, do you think that's a team that if they are, they get the chance to line up against Penn State, can take over and win that game and maybe be a dark horse in this thing, like maybe actually contend? Because the more I watch them and the more I watch Ashton Jeanty against 8-man boxes, like pick up 7 yards a carry when he's about to get the football, convinces me they'll be able to run the ball on anybody, and they shouldn't be overlooked.
Right, and again, we can poo-poo and all this stuff about Boise State, the blue turf, but like this is a program, and thank God the 1999-2000 Gamecocks got the Boise State program before it went to that astronomical ascension that it did, because they're a very proud program. And, of course, how they do it, I don't know how they recruit, all these different – I mean, again, getting a kid who was a Florida transplant into Texas and getting them to shoot all the way up to Idaho, and to stay up there is another amazing thing. So my point is, I think this is a very proud program. They don't have a lot of institutional incompetency, meaning they've pretty much gone from one coach to the next coach and pretty much had a nice modicum of success. I mean, the thing for us is, as SEC fans, and it just means more, and I know what radio station I'm on, we can't have somebody like this come onto the scene, like SMU, or if they meet Boise State and then they just have a phenomenal run like it is the basketball tournament or something like that. We can't have that, because for years we've been screaming out, our Vanderbilt will beat your Utah State, Kentucky Cougar. No, I don't. Because that team is built to have a playoff run. Defense, run the ball. Oh, we're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball and still have success doing it. And that's been proven with Jeanty. As long as he's healthy, as long as they're figuring out some different ways, because I think maybe scheduling will help them out a little bit, because depending upon who wins, help me out there. So if Penn State wins, they'll have
that'd be Boise.
They get Boise.
Yep.
Okay. But again, if you mess around and get a Boise State home game,
that'll be in
Fiesta Bowl.
out in Phoenix,
where they have had success.
Oh man.
Or Glendale.
Again, one of the most famous plays, and one of the most famous wedding, marriage proposals. Make all of the rest of us look bad. Like, why you didn't get down on one knee? Well, I was playing in the Cookie Crunch Bowl. I wasn't playing in the nice Phoenix Bowl where everybody was watching. But I think to say that Boise State playing them, that's probably one of the dangerous teams. But this is the thing, man. All these teams are dangerous, and all of them are getting hot at the right time. Some of them, haven't won some games in the last couple of weeks, but. This is what makes all of this really exciting. Just like the NFL wildcard weekend, it's like, man, anything can happen. But usually, those things that we predict beforehand usually just end up playing in the margins, and all those things probably end up playing as we kind of predicted.
We've spoken with you before about playing in Cincinnati. When you were in Detroit, obviously y'all had a dome for home games, but you played in Green Bay, you played in Chicago, you played in a lot of cold weather places during your career in the NFL. Do you believe, like some Big Ten folks do, that Southern teams, SMU heading up there, even maybe Tennessee to Columbus, which I don't think is going to be that big of a change for them weather-wise, but do you think it's a huge advantage, some advantage, or is it cold for both?
I think it's cold for both, but again, it all goes back to, have you practiced a little bit into it? Now, I am of the mindset of the day before, let's get the ball handling, let's make sure we do all that out in the weather if we can replicate some of that. Sometimes you're in Detroit and it's warm, you go up to Green Bay, it's a whole different thing. When I say warm, it's 30 degrees in Detroit. You go up to Green Bay, it's like -10. So I do think you should kind of mess around with the elements, but I mean, it is what it is, man. If you make a big deal out of it, I think it's a big deal. It's you drop, your kid, don't say you drop your kid. Your kid fell on its own. If I rush over there, he's going, ah! But sometimes if I just wait a second and look, he looks at me and like, oh, we're good. So that's how you know if it really is cold or it really hurts. Because, again, as the coach told me, it's going to be freezing on one side and freezing on the other. Maybe just somebody might have a little bit more chicken soup, different things like that. But some of the coldest days I've ever had been out here in Dallas, Texas. So I don't know if the entire SMU team has dealt with it. But, man, look here, man. Suck it up. You can do anything. Like I told you before, the warmest place on the field is out. The warmest place in a football game when it's really cold is out there on the field. If you can't find some warmth, keep running because there's warmth out there. You keep running hard, you'll find some warmth. Keep moving.
Langston, what were your thoughts on Travis Hunter winning the Heisman the other night? I thought it was really between him and Ashton Jeanty, but really a unique season from having the top two guys, not being quarterbacks, because this is historically a quarterback award, But Ashton Jeanty running for like 2,500 yards and making history, taking Boise State to the playoffs, and Travis Hunter doing some remarkable stuff on both sides of the football, because I don't think we've ever really seen a cornerback who can shut down half of a field and then catch like 114 passes on the other side of the ball and be the team's best weapon on offense as well.
Yeah, and so, again, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I felt like, I've seen better two-way players, but it was just a little bit better offensively, and he had a quarterback. I can't even remember who the Charles Woodson quarterback was when he won the Heisman. I don't even know who the dude was. You know why it doesn't matter? Because he didn't really make those plays offensively. He made it on special teams. He made it on an interceptions return. Now, again, Travis Hunter did a phenomenal job in Colorado. Dion, hats off to them because they had a vision. It went all the way. And, again, it had to couple up with Travis Hunter having the season that he had, all of those things. Those things still had to happen for him. But I think Shedeur Sanders, all of those things really, really, really helped because you think about, like, Charles Woodson. I think about a little bit more dominating kind of like two-way players, but Charles was really a cornerback. I got Travis Hunter. I felt like he should have won. They did a great job marketing. I was in New York last week. Saw all the guys on Times Square, which, again, salute to the schools that's putting the money out there. But, like, when I saw Cam Ward, or even when I saw Dylan Gabriel, I was like, I wonder if Oregon could have saved a little bit of that money. But you got Nike money, so, just save a little bit from Michael Jordan's little allotment this year. We'll just throw something up just for the hometown Oregon guys. But I think it was great TV. I think they figured out the best way to do it. I think Jeanty probably should have won it, but that's not sexy. That's not, what I'm saying? Like the Travis Hunter story, they did a very good job. Again, intentional, unintentional, or just the marketing part of it. And you think about the West Coast stuff, growing up, Jay, Elijah, oh, man, if you're not on the East Coast, so you think about Boise State, you think about Oregon, and you think about Colorado, how much had to go into, like, the viewing and people staying up, especially the East Coast voters, like, oh, we had to stay up. But there was a little bit of, TV drama there because Travis won the award. He won it through the voters. And then they had the fan vote and had Travis stand up there with the fan vote, like with the graphics on the side. And Travis was like, what? I think he looked over at the screen and was like, oh, I didn't win the fan vote? Oh, my goodness. And so that was kind of funny. Maybe you could have did that when you came back from break, didn't have Travis. But it made for great TV. We didn't spend 3 hours. I missed George being on there. My boy Mike Rozier was in rare form back there with the hat on from Nebraska. So it was great TV, and the guy that I think everybody was happy to see won the award.
Mr. Moore, sit tight. Let me go ahead and invite two of you on board to play the Wild Card Showdown CFP edition, 803-404-6100, 803-404-6100. Two of you, the showdown, next. Holidays fully upon us, college and pro playoffs, bowl games, basketball season, your favorite holiday movies, specials, concerts, and so much more. Ready to watch all those things better than ever? Of course you are. Time to call Integrated Media. And just like Santa, they'll make house calls. Beautiful, state-of-the-art HD TVs. Pretty much anything you can think of size-wise, right? They'll get it in for you. Lifelike sound, Dolby Atmos quality, in-ceiling or in-wall speakers with the flexibility of the complete Sonos system that you can move around. Upgrade your Wi-Fi capabilities for better learning, working, gaming, and streaming. That's right, professional-grade Wi-Fi in the home, and you can control it all from an app on your phone or your tablet. Call them up, see what they can do for you, 803-948-8327. And don't forget, the brand new Pro Swing is opening in Forest Acres. Oh, my gosh, is this place going to be awesome. No matter what you want to do, you can do it better with my good friends at Integrated Media.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways. Starting with an accident that has the left lane completely blocked on I-26 westbound at I-20 near exit 107B. Traffic moving very slowly through there. Some more minor accidents around town include one on Blythewood Road at I-77, I-20 eastbound at Alpine Road near exit 76B, Old Orangeburg Road at Two Notch Road, Percival Road at Highway 12 near Forest Drive, and lastly, one on Pickens Street at Blossom Street.
It is drive around the SEC time here, but it's going to mostly be the wild card showdown time. I will tell you, of course, Carolina Clemson men's basketball tonight coming up in less than 1 hour airtime, 7 o'clock tip. Clemson a slight favorite in this one over at CLA. Also tonight, what could be a good one, Elijah Campbell, North Carolina and Florida playing up in Charlotte. Interesting little matchup.
Another test for North Carolina. They've had a brutal non-conference schedule. But
well, Hubert's got them playing good people, but need to win some of these.
Yeah, Florida with the nation's longest active win streak right now with 10 games. They are 10-0. They have been quietly one of the best teams in all college basketball. They took a sledgehammer to Arizona State on Saturday.
It's an interesting case study in Gainesville right now with their men's basketball program.
Oh, what? Coaching with a coach who might not be there?
Yeah.
While a serious investigation goes on about
a rather serious investigation.
Improper relationships with students and maybe some stalking going on, allegedly.
So there's a couple of, but again, Carolina Clemson men's basketball coming at you. Carolina Alabama basketball tickets will be the prize for the wild card showdown as Elijah cues the orchestra and we get ready to play this very special college football playoff edition. We also have some bowl games thrown in. We've got Robert, we've got Eddie. Happy holidays, boys. Robert, how are you?
Doing great. Want to say hey to my girls listening on the radio in the car.
All right, good stuff. Hey, girls. We'll say hey to you as well. I like doing that to mine, too, but they're like, Dad, shut up. Eddie, how you doing?
I am doing good, Jay. Doing good.
Good to have you on here. If you're wondering, by the way, yours truly will be away the rest of the week for the holidays, so we're doing this a little bit early, and I will bring Elijah some beer later in the week for filling in. I promise. That's a true story.
I'll take it.
So here we go. All right, Robert, we're going to let you lead off. We've got Notre Dame hosting Indiana in the first ever on-campus college football playoff game. That's Friday night in South Bend. Irish -7 in this one. Robert, what do you think?
I think there will be one upset in this first round of playoffs, and it's going to be Indiana beating Notre Dame.
All right, Robert, look at that. Ready to go. Indiana to win the football game, not just cover the 7 points. Eddie, same game?
I am going to go with Notre Dame.
Notre Dame to cover the spread. Elijah Campbell.
I, too, will go with Notre Dame to cover the spread.
Notre Dame to cover the spread. I picked Notre Dame to win this football game, but something tells me Kurt Cignetti keeps his team hanging around. So give me Indiana plus the points on the road, and we'll see what happens there. All right, next is Texas hosting Clemson. This is on Saturday in Austin. Eddie, I'll start with you. Texas, an 11.5-point favorite over the Tigers.
As much as I hate to say, I'm going to go with the Tigers.
Clemson. Well, you don't have to pick them to win. You're just picking them to cover. That's fine.
Right. So, a 10-point loss will be good.
There you go. Some Clemson fans will disagree, but that's fine. Robert, same game. Texas -11.5.
Yeah, I think Texas is going to take out all that frustration from the championship game on Clemson. I'm going to take Texas.
Texas to roll over the Tigers, says Robert. Elijah Campbell.
I'll go Clemson to cover. And I think this has backdoor cover written all over it. It might be like a 16-point game when Clemson scores late.
I like the Texas defense is great. Clemson has not been prolific on either side of the ball. They're good. But Texas has trouble scoring points at times. And I think Clemson is good enough to do. I'm kind of with you. I think this game could be something where Texas is going to win.
Dumb penalties, man.
Yeah,
that SEC championship game, they had, 6 points in that first half? They should have had about 21.
Yeah. So I'll Texas to win, Clemson to cover. So give me Clemson plus the points. Elijah, I'll start with you as Penn State hosts SMU. 8.5-point favorites are the Lions.
I'll go Penn State to cover that.
Penn State to cover. Man, I want Rhett Lashley. You know, I think it was Robert that mentioned taking out some frustrations in a championship game. I'm going to feel the same way. You know what? Again, Penn State has trouble scoring at times. Give me SMU, not necessarily to win the game, but to cover the 8.5. Robert?
I'm going to go with Elijah on this one. I think Penn State. I think Franklin's got something to prove, and I think he does it with SMU.
All right, there you go. And Eddie?
I'm going to go with you, Jay. I'm going to go with SMU.
All right, SMU plus the points. And finally, guys, at least for this game, or for the playoff games, Ohio State hosting Tennessee. Tennessee plus 7 in this one. Elijah Campbell, I'll start with you.
I say Tennessee covers the 7. That's the big upset of the weekend, is that Tennessee beats them outright.
Well, I have already thrown out my bracket picks, but they don't have spreads on them. But I did pick Tennessee to win this game. Therefore, I will be picking Tennessee to certainly cover the 7 points. Eddie?
I'm going to go Tennessee as well.
Tennessee. I'm about to break into a little Grateful Dead there, but I won't. Robert?
Yeah, I mean, two teams I hate quite a bit, but I got a feeling that Ohio State wins this one by double digits.
Ohio State, says Robert. All right, guys, wild card time now. Got some bowl games that we'll be playing. Robert, I'm going to get yours first. You have the ReliaQuest Bowl. That is Alabama. 10.5-point favorites over Michigan. That one, of course, in Tampa.
Give me Alabama on that one.
Alabama, says Robert. Eddie, your game is the Miami Hurricanes. 4-point favorites over Big 12 runner-up Iowa State. That's the Pop-Tarts Bowl down in Orlando.
I think Miami is just totally discouraged, so I'm going to go against them.
Yeah, that's not
Iowa State.
That's not a bad pick, sir.
Nope, not at all.
That's not a bad pick at all. Elijah Campbell? You've got Missouri, 3-point favorites over Iowa in the Music City Bowl, a bowl you're familiar with in Nashville, Tennessee.
It is. And, say Missouri's 3-point favorites?
Yep.
Give me Iowa to win that game.
Iowa to win. I wish I could give you bonus points for that pick. But.
They are Music City Bowl frequent visitors.
Yeah.
And they usually win when they get to that game.
And I've got Colorado, 3-point favorites over BYU in the Alamo Bowl down in San Antonio. I've kind of back and forth on this one, but I think the send-off is what I'm looking at here. Colorado saying goodbye to Travis and Shedeur, but not Dion. But give me Colorado to cover that one and win that football game. And finally, guys, a tiebreaker stat is total offense in the Clemson-Texas game. You heard me right, so I'll give you a second to think about it. Not for any individuals, collective total offense in the Clemson-Texas game. Eddie, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to go 572.
572. I like that number. Robert.
I'm going to go 465.
465, says Robert. Elijah Campbell?
I'm going to go 700.
Ooh, okay. Wow, you're not where I am. Robert and Eddie, I'm in between you guys. Robert, you're closer where I was. I'm going to say, you know what? I'll just do an even 500, and we'll find out what happens. All right, guys, you're locked in. Robert, Eddie, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you playing. You find a way to beat us, we'll send you to the Carolina-Alabama Men's Basketball Conference home opener in a couple of weeks. So y'all have a great Christmas season, all right?
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Happy holidays.
Thank you, guys. All right, more on this, and we'll get a quick EBPI check on tonight's game on the other side. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show on this Tuesday. Jay and Elijah with you. Langston is back with us. Thanks to Robert, to Eddie for playing along on the Wild Card Showdown. And it was Robert that said shout out to the girls that were listening, right? So
it was.
Shout out to all of you listening out there. Shout out.
To every single one of you, because you keep our lights
That's
on.
right.
And I appreciate that. I don't like walking around in the dark.
No. Well, yeah, you do, because I have to always turn the daggum lights on out front.
That's not even dark. You don't know real darkness.
That's true, but that I don't. We could talk about that in the fourth hour.
That's the post-game show philosophy
Yes.
hour.
So
What is true darkness?
We'll do that. Langston is with us again for a couple of more minutes here. And again, go to athletesandartists.net for all the Just a Chicken series. They had some great tweets about the Just a Chicken series of books for those young Gamecock readers in your life. Athletesandartists.net has all the intel. If I wanted Santa to bring me a signed copy of this, is it too late? Is that a Christmas 2025 thing now? Like, what do I do?
Oh, no, Jay, we got technology. Oh, it's amazing. I don't know how it works. We spent hours one day at the printing shop. Shout out to the folks over there right off of Greystone. We signed hours and hours till Preston wanted to be a cantankerous athlete star. I'm tired of this. I didn't get into this to sign books. But Preston, it doesn't matter if our names are on there. When you sign your name to it, it's like something really meta, and they really, I don't care about that. So he's the one you send all your complaints to. But no, all the books are online.
Just leave it right here on the table. He can see it in the morning.
There's a whole bunch of them you can get online that are signed. They will not be personalized, and they will not say those crazy things that we get a lot of crazy requests for. Say this to my Clemson fan. There's a kid next door to me. He always wears this purple and orange. Could you say this? I was like, sir, we can't say four-letter things to kids this young. I work in schools. I know better than that. And when I say I'm talking about love, JC, there you go again. We talked about shrinkage earlier. Then we said love. We're not saying four-letter words, bad things. But you can go online, Athletes and Artists. There's some signed copies on there, plus another bunch of good stuff. Patrick Davis made a song for us, along with that Michael Haney dude. Maybe you want to ride around and blast it out of the roof of your car while you're decorating, doing whatever it is you're doing. I don't know. Make it the soundtrack of your Christmas holidays right there. It's perfect.
There you
a lot
go.
of stuff over there.
Born to Crow. I know that song well. Yeah, that's a good one. So there you go. Athletesandartists.net plus the Button Gut podcast and a whole lot more. All right. So we've made our picks. Now, I didn't get into this with you. I only got like 2 minutes left here. I've got the semifinals. I've got Texas playing Oregon. I've got Boise playing Georgia. I've got Oregon and Georgia winning those. And I have the Georgia Bulldogs as the first national champion of the 12-school playoff. What do you think?
Jay, I think we're not going to like this at all, Jay. I think it's going to be like somebody like Texas that comes out of nowhere like,
How insufferable will they be, having lived out there as long as you have? How bad will that be for, say, Earth?
Well, it is one of those things where, like, maybe, like, the Cubs shouldn't win the World Series, and I mean, that happened after such a long drought and all the fan stuff and all that. So I just think, of course, Georgia had to figure out a way to get knocked off in a weird, sick kind of way. Kirby probably wants something like this to happen, to be like, I told you, if you just buy in just a little bit more. And like, Kirby, I don't know how much more they could buy in. These kids pretty dialed in over there for you at Georgia, but it feels like something like that is going to I don't want to say it's going to be Boise for sure. I teased that out a little bit, but I think it'll be somebody like a Texas, somebody like that, and maybe big money, big capitalism, the team that has just been really insufferable for a really, really long time. Well, since Vince Young and Mac Brown. So I don't know, man. I think it'll be something like that. If it's something like Georgia, I didn't have that on the bingo card with the quarterback and all those different things, but I feel like it's going to be something like that, Jay. Just don't let it be Penn State and James Franklin after all the trash I done talked.
Well, that's true. I don't think Penn State can win this whole thing. I don't think they can.
They'll take care of that part for you.
Yeah, I think that's true. Hey,
there's one thing James Franklin going to do. He's going to fumble it. He's going to fumble it for his own team, his own self.
Well, listen, Merry Christmas to you, to the family, and I can't tell you enough how much we appreciate all you do for us all the time here, sir. I know we'll talk to you again here soon enough, but I won't talk to you again on air before Christmas. So Merry Christmas to the Moors, and I hope Santa's good to you.
Absolutely, man. We got a bacon prime rib wrap that's going to be smoked here soon. Jay, I'm not doing it. I found somebody. I got smart. I found somebody who can do all this. I will send pictures. There will be no shrinkage, Jay. There's going to be a lot of fluid,
yes.
a lot of prime rib, all smeared. You're going to see it all in all its glory.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Elijah, I have something for you too.
Yes, maximum meats, baby.
We appreciate you. Merry Christmas, sir.
Merry Christmas. Y'all be well.
That's our good friend Langston Moore. And again, remove the chains to follow on Twitter, athletesandartists.net. All right, just a little bit of time left here. Quick EBPI for tonight's game.
I got Clemson 62%.
Okay. That's about where the computers have it, I think, as well. So
they're really tough defensively.
They're good. Carolina's going to have to play their best game in a while.
I'll say if Carolina goes over a point or 1.05 per possession tonight, that's a good accomplishment. This is a really solid defense that did a number on Kentucky. He's one of the best offenses in the country.
Merry Christmas to all of you. I love you guys so much. Thank you for what you do and listening to us every single day and putting up with us. I hope you have a great holiday season. I'll see you in a couple days. And one last official word from our friends at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. Holiday stresses, holiday wrapping, holiday lifting got you a little stiff. Might be time to go see the experts at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. They got 4 in the Columbia area: Harveston Boulevard, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch off Killian out in Northeast, and Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. Maybe you're traveling. All right, if you are in the Joint Chiropractic system, they've got centers all across the country, and if you need an adjustment while you're away for a bowl game, family travel, whatever's going on, they can see you, and they'll know exactly what your treatment history is all about. So listen, local, national scope, all at the same time. You got no need for appointments, no need for insurance, and they're very convenient. Here locally, open 10 to 7 on Monday through Friday, Saturdays 10 until 4, FSA and HSA approved. These are great folks that are ready to help you out. Remember, at The Joint, you don't have to feel bad to feel better. You can learn more right now at thejoint.com.